Thank you. And if there are any technical glitches or compliance issues, the meeting will be suspended and continued at the next scheduled meeting, which is 1 week from today, same time, same place. It looks like the first thing on our agenda is approving our meeting minutes from January 24th. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from January 24th.
I'll
So
second
just
that.
to make sure, this is how we want to do it. I wasn't sure if we want to count the approval last time. I mean, it wasn't a real meeting, I guess.
I
Yeah.
don't think we can count the
Okay.
approval or anything that we did at our last meeting because it didn't meet the open meeting
Right.
law. So
Okay, yeah, makes
it's a
sense.
small thing where I think we just do it again.
Should that one have meeting minutes?
I don't think so, because again, we didn't handle any official business, but I don't know if it says differently in the. It seems like a pretty obscure case. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I just figured we could talk about it. I'm okay with doing it this way.
Yeah, my expectation was that we would not be reviewing minutes from last week's meeting. And that we would just need to reapprove the meeting minutes from January.
Okay, that sounds
4th.
good.
Was there any discussion on those meeting minutes for corrections? Okay, hearing none. Yes, we will. I will call roll according to the order in which people appear on my screen. Kristen,
Aye.
I am an I, and Fletcher.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Erica, we just called roll for voting on the minutes for January 24th. Would you like to chime in?
Yeah, aye.
Thanks. Sorry about the difficulties.
Sorry about that.
Okay. First on the agenda, actually, before we start our public meetings, is there somebody else on the Conservation Commission that is willing to chair the meeting in the case that I may need to attend to family matters and cannot chair?
Yeah, I can step in at that point.
Okay, thank you, Fletcher. Appreciate that. We have a public meeting request. For determination
Rachel, sorry, I just want to
ability.
confirm. We would vote in pro tem chair at that point, right? If you had to leave, I think.
I think we just need to select someone
Okay.
for the meeting. The same procedure that would happen if both Travis and I were not able to attend the meeting. You and Kristen and Erica would just need to decide at the beginning of the meeting who is chairing. So I don't think it requires a vote.
Okay, in the past, we've done a vote in the situation you just described, so maybe we'll just do it to be sure, but
Okay.
got it. Okay.
Do we have a motion to designate Fletcher to continue the meeting in the event that I need to leave?
I think
Make
we
a
could just.
motion to.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to wait, Fletcher?
I was going to say wait, just because at first I thought Rachel was going to motion to elect a pro tem chair, but I see what she did a different motion. So either way works for me, but I think we could also
Essentially just need
yeah.
someone to serve as vice chair for me, which I think if Travis ended up in technical difficulties and had to leave a meeting and without being able to communicate that it would fall on me. So if we're all comfortable.
Oh yeah, you could vote me pro tem vice chair, and then it would just kind of work the same, I guess.
Exactly. Thanks.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, first on the agenda, public meeting request for determination of applicability, building addition at 139 Silvio Oconti Drive, map R05 lot 24H. Are there, is
So-
there anyone here representing that project?
Sorry to interrupt again. I think for the previous meeting, we were going to potentially try to bump up 208 Mohawk because I believe they agreed to a continuation. So I don't know if they're here, but if they're here, I'd make a suggestion that we bump that up and continue it. And if they're not here, it's not an
I don't
issue.
know that someone is here from that. They
Okay.
sent me permission over email to postpone.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. I
But-
just want to make sure that they weren't hanging around till the end for that.
Sorry, was that, they sent a request for it to continue? Is that?
Yeah, Travis and I have been talking about just having one of the NOIs move over just to make sure we get through everything.
Okay.
That
So
one was
we-
always planned for the next meeting.
We can approve that continuation when we get there.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so. Is there anyone from 139 Silvio Hocanti Drive? You should be able to unmute yourself and please introduce your name and position.
I don't see Adam here. I've been emailing him, making sure he has the right link.
Okay,
Right. I think we should wait.
in that case, I think we will skip that and come back to it in the case that someone is able to show up. Okay, the next item on the agenda then is notice of intent for building an addition and parking area construction at 15 Greenfield.
Sorry, do we need to vote to postpone?
I think if we get back to it in the same meeting, we can,
Okay.
it's discretionary to change the order, I believe.
Yeah,
I'll
I think
also
so.
point out that we don't have the times listed on our agenda. A lot of commissions do post times, so they have to kind of stall or address administrative matters between hearing times, but we don't post our times on the agenda, so.
Okay, is there anybody from 15 Greenfield Street present who can introduce the project and give
Sure.
a review?
Tell me what Nikki.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Tom Hogan. I'm a civil engineer with Wright Pierce in Westfield, Mass. I'm here this evening to talk about the notice of intent filed by Valley Precision Parts Corporation at 15 Greenfield Street for activities proposed within regulated areas under the Wetlands Protection Act. Presenting with me this evening are Mr. Steve Capshaw, president and owner of Valley Precision Parts Corporation, Mr. Chuck Karen of Karen Environmental Consulting, and Mr. Larry Rusecki, PE project manager with Wright Pierce. Just a general quick overview. The project consists of a number of improvements to the facility and property, including building connector of about 12,700 square feet in footprint that will join the two existing buildings on the site within existing heavily disturbed areas. Construction of a vehicular parking lot on land recently purchased from the Greenfield Redevelopment Authority behind the existing westerly building. Truck dock and parking lot improvements in the front area of existing buildings within the existing parking lot, and supporting mitigation and stormwater management improvements. The project team will get into more detail regarding those elements, but I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Capshaw, of Valley Precision Parts, to speak a little bit about his business and the need for this project. Oh, I thought I saw Steve. He's muted.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
My company goes back in Greenfield about 50 years, and we've been at 4 different locations in town during that time. And we've been at our site on 15 Greenfield Street here since 2008. And it's been a great location, the industrial park, for us to be able to grow. At that time, we had 28 employees. We now have 205 on the site. So we've done 2 previous additions on the building. We renovated it in 2008, added 5,000 square feet to it towards Adams Road, you see here on this map. And then the new building, which is disconnected in 2018. And that's allowed us to go from about 25 employees to 205. And if you drive by our building right now, it's kind of a mess, which we don't like, meaning we have there's nowhere to park, particularly at shift changes. So we were able to acquire the land behind us, the parcel you see behind us where the proposed larger parking lot is, which is a lot of wetlands, but there's usable space out front there. So we thought it'd be really, really attractive for us to be able to continue to expand employment by being able to park in that area. So we've got designed there, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, about 63 parking spots, which will allow us to continue to expand employment. And we run around the clock. There's really 3 facets to this, which is the expanded parking lot in the back, the connected buildings in the center, and then a loading dock and a little bit more parking out front. We view those as 3 different facets. The first of which is the expanded parking out back, which we're really desperate to get into place because it allows us to continue to hire. So I'll hand it back to Tom. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Steve. And the rear parking lot has 58 spots. And but as we discussed in the application, during the planning phase of this project, we had the property land surveyed. We did subsurface test pits, and we also had the site evaluated for jurisdictional areas per the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. And on February 1st, Mr. Karen, Mr. Capshaw, and I had a site walk with Mr. Vi to view the delineated wetlands on the site. So I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Karen to quickly, briefly discuss his findings.
Right. Good evening. Yeah, this, as Tom said, there on the existing site, the commission had approved the project about 4 or 5 years ago. The wetlands in that area basically have remained unchanged. In between the 2 buildings, there is a very small intermittent stream channel with a little bit of bordering vegetated wetlands along it. And then along the northerly property line, we get into the wetland that's on the property that was acquired from the redevelopment authority. That takes up about a half or a little bit more of that parcel. And that basically has got bordering vegetated wetland that extends out towards Adams Road and a small intermittent stream channel that kind of heads to the northeast from the property line. The wetlands on that portion of the site, I'm not sure exactly the timing, were delineated by Lord Smith for the city. His flags were still there when I redid it, and my line followed, within a few feet one way or the other, what he had delineated on the site. For resource areas, there's also a strange feature that runs along the back property line. It's a fairly deep ditch that has a little bit of evidence of flow in it and some wetlands vegetation along it. From what we can figure from the history of this site, it looks like that was constructed in the late 70s or early 80s when this industrial subdivision was originally developed to divert that stream channel that's going between the 2 buildings now, except either they never finished it, they constructed it wrong, or didn't maintain it because that channel that goes right up to the intermittent stream channel is picking up no flow from that stream at this point. So we have the basically the buffer zone from the BVW that extends into a good part of the work, and We have the intermittent stream channel and some bordering vegetated wetlands in that area between the buildings where we're proposing to do work. I don't know if you want me to get into mitigation now, Tom, or if you want to go into more details of the design first.
Well, I actually had wrapped them up in my my next segment, Chuck. So
Okay.
maybe I could go over them and maybe we'll
Yep.
we'll find something of particular interest to the commission. And Chuck is
Okay.
right. We find that feature, that float that seems to have been intended for a west to east direction, intriguing. The paperwork pertaining to the easement as it was created for that feature seems to substantiate that idea, but also at the end point is a 36-inch RCP drain pipe. Larry, I think it might be shown better on C4. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see the discharge pipe from it, and the fact is it's clearly man-made. It's very rigid in its appearance. It looks like you can tell what it was intended to do. It just it hasn't been maintained or properly graded. But in the overall big picture of it is we understand that the presence of that area between the two buildings, we look at that and we say, well, it's currently carrying water, so we've developed a mitigation plan to address it, in essence, turning it counterclockwise about 90 degrees or so and mitigating what we see there and measure in greater than 1-to-1 fashion. But we also, in order to comply with our stormwater management obligations, we've provided stormwater control for construction activities as well as long-term operation maintenance plans and post-construction operations. Our stormwater management best practices proposed include deep sump catch basins, contact stormwater treatment units, ADS isolator rows, slope stabilization measures, outlet pipe, energy dissipation. And in essence, using those means, we're able to demonstrate balance at our analysis points as shown in our stormwater management report. So like Mr. Capshaw had indicated, there's a variety of things occurring at the site, but taking the whole site in a whole and looking at the mitigation for each individual component, we believe the proposal as shown achieves the performance standards under the Act. And of course, there's a great deal of detail in the stormwater report as well as the plan set. And we would be glad to try and answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks for that really well put together presentation. I have a question. So you mentioned that the wetlands were delineated by Wordsmith, but how long ago were those delineated?
Well,
We redelineated them
yeah.
late last summer, early fall.
Who's
I was just
we?
mentioning that I did that. Ward had done it a year or two before that for the city. So I was just pointing that out, the fact that we both ended up with essentially the same line through that area.
Okay, so you have data forms to like updated data forms to go with that.
Yes, they
Okay.
were submitted with the.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Do we have any site visit photos of that area?
Yeah, I can pull those up. This is the area between the two buildings.
Is that currently being used for snow disposal or snow storage, I guess?
No,
No,
No, that's actually downgrading of the wetland itself right there. Just what's being shoveled off that path between the buildings, I think, or plowed off. of.
there's actually like, there's like dirt that comes up on both sides of it. So it looks like a big snowbank, but it's not. You can see the melting snow right here. Right, there's never snow that's like shed to that area.
Just my observation of that area between the buildings is that it's at best semi-natural. It looks like it was pretty significantly disturbed or relocated 40 or 50 years ago.
And this is where it's being redirected to, the mitigation area.
yes,
Right, that's gonna get, that whole area behind that building would get regraded for the new stream and the BVW replication, and then we're gonna do some upland plantings in that area as well.
Yep.
This is the parking lot, I think,
correct.
looking away from the wetland.
Mitch, I took some pictures more recently without snow. If you feel like flipping through, there's only a few
Oh,
of them.
sure.
So that's just looking away to sort of a little inflow channel, and the stream, intermittent stream in question, is right in the foreground there. And this is sort of looking in the opposite direction, intermittent stream right in the foreground, and propane tank to be moved right up top there.
And this, oh wait, sorry, can you go back? So this little BVW area where the stream is coming through, can you remind me, is that in the proposed limit of work, or is the proposed limit of work just over the stream?
It is, you're actually looking nearby the area where we would propose it to head in an easterly direction.
There is a small amount of along that channel between the buildings is there's a narrow band of BVW through that
If-
area that we're proposing to replicate.
I think the next picture or two will show that better.
Okay.
One more. So this is the channel running towards the project area, I believe. So from the woods to the proposed building site. And I think the proposed building site is flush with the other buildings. So it would be sort of a little past the gray birch or the poplar there, whatever that is.
And just to get people oriented, the pink flags are on the top of bank of the stream channel, and the blue are the edge of BVW.
And
Thanks.
that stream channel continues in the same sort of configuration you see here up to the front, essentially the front corner of that building on the right, and then it dips into a storm drain, into a basin that takes it to the front, under the parking lot to the front of the property, where it then dips down into another storm drain to cross under the road.
And we're pretty careful with our drainage calculations to be sure to take that water and have it balanced in the same location and fashion that it gets to where it's going now. That was the priority of ours.
I have a question about the proposed expanded parking area. There was another photo in one of Mitch's photos. I think it was the last one in the carousel of photos that showed the proposed work area from the vantage point of the edge of the BVW. Yeah, it's that last one. And it looks like a little bit of a slope. So I'm just curious because I didn't have enough time to really get into the nitty gritty of the plans. Is there grading proposed associated with the with the expanded parking area or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the grading is shown, I think, on C4.
Okay. That,
So we tried to, of course, like you would, try to work with the natural grades as much as we could. Cut slopes in a, as steep as we could, but that they would remain stable and fill in the same fashion with stabilization. Best management practices called out for in the plan details.
okay. So you have your cut and fill outlined in a table in there as well, I'm sure.
Well, I don't have the volumes in there, but we clearly show where cut slopes are and fill slopes are.
It looks like there's 2 to 3 feet of fill at the southeast corner of the parking area, and then 2 or 3 feet of cut at the northwest edge of it.
All right, is that building in the back on the applicant site, or is that another business?
I
In this
think that's the
picture.
view back across Adams Road. So that's SWM,
Okay, got it.
Matif.
And that cut and fill for the parking area, that's in buffer zone. It's in the 100-foot.
Yes. Well, some of it, right? And we should have a sedimentation erosion control plan, Larry.
Can you clarify on this plan? Sorry, before you switch. Oh, wait. Yeah, just the jurisdictional areas that are marked here, and just point them out. It's
Yep,
it's
I
hard to
think
read
you're
the
looking at-
labels at this scale, so.
Sure, understood. No, I think that's the 100-foot buffer zone. Yep.
Yep.
And that's the limit of disturbance, the tree line. Yeah. And I think, Larry, do we have a said erosion control plan, or do we call out some of those elements on?
That's on one
It
of the.
looks like where you were just zoomed in. So there's the 25-foot no disturb zone, and
Yes.
that there is grading and fill coming into that, to the no disturb area there at the southeast corner of the parking lot.
Correct.
And we don't have those volumes.
We don't. We could calculate those quite easily. Sure. If that's something you'd like.
And
I would say that we tried to balance the best we could while keeping a responsibly graded parking lot that'd be safe for vehicles and users. And again, with the environmental considerations of the slope stabilization. But our goal was to keep it as flat as we could. I mean, as natural as we could.
Is it the case that you'd have to bring in fill, or will somehow the removal be used in the?
It's not a big swing either way, and to do that calculation, I would have to figure out the volume that would need to be brought in anyway for the gravel base for the parking lot. Just looking at it, I don't think that it's a big swing one way or the other. I'm not seeing, a big
one
cut versus fill. I think the idea is that's going to be as close as we could make it.
I think the biggest thing we would want to understand from that data is whether there would be a significant impact on the resource area.
Mhm.
So if that information will help us make that clearer or won't, then I don't know. That's my personal opinion on that.
I'm happy to provide it. It's not a very intricate calculation. We could certainly pull that together.
While we're here, there's another dash, a heavier dashed line that overlaps with the 100-foot buffer that I don't see a label for. Can you explain what that angled dashed line is? Yes.
Yes, yep, that's the 200-foot local riverfront area.
Mhm.
So that comes down, comes across, and then goes back up, and that's associated with the intermittent stream. To then the closed drainage system that goes underneath the existing. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Can we, while we've got the plans up, can we just talk quickly about the stormwater plan, the stormwater management plan? Because this
Yeah.
is, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there is. It's complicated. There's, like Mr. Capshaw said, there's really three sub projects within all of one here, but
So this is the utility plan. So pretty much the new paved parking area will be pitched towards a low point where there's a double graded inlet. That'll go through a proprietary CDS unit, which will then overflow into the subsurface ADS system. Larger storm events will then, after going through the ADS system, will go through a multi-stage outlet control structure prior to discharge. So that structure has been sized for the 210 and 100-year storm events. And that output is provided in the stormwater management report. So those are the proposed utilities within the expanded parking area. We can talk a little bit more in detail about the wetland mitigation, but this conveyance channel will then go to an area inlet, be diverted around the existing structure and tie back into that same closed drainage system that goes underneath the existing parking lot and then outflows adjacent to Greenfield Street. So there's deep sump catch basins, drain manholes, HDPE pipe that will then tie into the existing, I believe it's an 18-inch pipe at this location here. The expanded, a little bit of expanded front parking area is pretty much the same thing, where we're deep sump catch basins at the low points of the site along the front will be tied into a CDS unit as well at this location. That'll pre-treat all the stormwater entering into the ADS system. This system will also have a multi-stage outlet control structure that is located right here, DMH3, and the overflow or outflow associated with that will then also tie back into that existing closed drainage system prior to outflowing along Greenfield Street. So there's basically three areas of stormwater management that we're proposing: the expanded front parking area, the reroute around to the existing, and then this larger front subsurface pond to mitigate the increase in impervious area.
I have to say, I'm a little worried about the parking area and the impacts to the wetlands. You know, if we're changing the grade and routing all of the, under existing conditions, the sub-watershed flow from north to south, from south to north, how that's going to impact that wetland, and to go all the way up to the 25-foot and inside the 25-foot makes me a little bit nervous.
I would say I understand and I appreciate that. you know, when I look at it and I think about the contours and how that wetland system is, Larry, can you zoom up just a little bit?
Yeah, I was just trying to,
Well,
kinda-
that same sheet. I just want to
Yeah,
go a little bit
sorry.
higher on that
Yeah.
same sheet. So if we look at the contours here and I look at the cut slope, when I think about adjacent wetlands and the concern that I normally have, and people have different concerns, but the concern that I would have is if I was going to have a major cut slope near, you know, a down gradient system and in how I might intercept, you know, water that would otherwise be going and feeding it. The 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 contours on the upper areas, aside for 2 or 3 that we have, um, generally those contours are perpendicular away from our parking lot. In other words, those contours are perpendicular to more of a northwest to southeast fashion, and that our parking lot wouldn't be acting as a subdrain in essence. And then as you go down to the bigger part of our parking lot, it quickly turns into a fill situation. Larry, can you go to the northeast part of the parking lot where the curve is, just to circle that area? No, the new
sorry.
parking lot out back.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have done those annotations.
Okay,
My bad.
almost where your hand is. Go, no. Yes. So right there, no, to the right.
Northeast?
Stop right there. So right around there, it turns into a fill situation, so that now genuinely there shouldn't be any interception of any water that may be flowing in the subsurface. There's the fill associated with that in our efforts, which we'll take to ensure that it's stabilized, to make sure that toe is properly created. It's not a very high slope. It goes from 0 to 3 or 4 feet at the corner, but at that 4th foot, it is at a point where, you know, it's down gradient of the primary portion of those wetlands. So those are some elements that I thought about when we were providing the design. And Chuck, I don't know if you have any other
No,
insight.
I think that's a pretty good summary. I just say, you know, this wetland system is really being maintained by the flow of, you know, surface and groundwater coming from a more northerly direction. And then you know, basically the pretty minor cut slope in the parking lot is, you know, on a slope that is only up gradient of basically that extreme southwestern corner of the wetland. And given the fairly shallow depth of the cut, it's well above the wetland, so it isn't really going to be intercepting groundwater that's feeding into the wetland below the parking lot.
I would hope it wouldn't intercept with groundwater. I was thinking more about surface water. Just that the natural subwatershed is shedding currently right now from south to north, but after the establishment of 58 parking spaces, that whole area will now shed from north to south. So how would that impact the adjacent BBW?
Well, it's a very small part of basically the surface water tributary area, because basically you only have surface water runoff from feeding into the wetland there, from the wetland line to not even quite to the to Adams Road.
Yeah, I think anything to the west of Adams Road is captured generally in the roadway system. Is that right,
Well,
Chuck?
Yeah, well, even east of Adams Road, you can see there's a slight little rise there. So from about where that tree line is towards Adams Road is going to Adams Road and not into this wetland right now.
Is that in your stormwater analysis? Is that explained in your justification?
Yes, we provide the subcatchments and the time of concentration.
And the flow
analysis.
lines and the rates and all of that?
That is
Mhm.
correct. Yeah, it's towards
Okay.
the end of the report. If I could just also add just add real quick too, as Chuck and Tom were saying, the grades of Adams Road are pretty much pitched from northeast to kind of southwest in this area that we're talking about. Although there's a defined crown down below here, the upper portions of Adams Road are pitched to the southwest a little bit as well. So really the subcatchment area is from the edge of pavement, somewhat a little bit into the road. So the areas that shed water or subcatch stormwater runoff to this wetland are pretty much the same. If we could look at this as almost like a analysis point for this topic, all of that water is going to the same analysis point today. The water from our parking area will be going through a conveyance system, but then outflow to the same analysis point.
And that's all detailed in your stormwater report.
That is correct. Yeah, we have our pre versus post exhibit and the detailed breakdown of each subcatchment.
So right now there's a small little drainage ditch from a drain or culvert type structure going from west to east that we saw in one of the pictures that connects to the current system. That is
Yes.
now going to be this new.
I think he's talking behind the east, the western building.
If you go to the
In the picture
southeast,
you have.
if you go to roughly the southeast of the parking lot as it's on the plan there, no,
Mhm.
in the northwest of the plan.
All right.
I'm just wondering if this drainage structure, you can see a big sort of black
This.
right below it.
This.
That's an outflow. Is that correct? From
yeah,
from
that's
water
just-
shedding from the parking lot, or no?
That'll be
Proposed.
the proposed outflow
Right.
from the stormwater management system. It's shown with some fabric and riprap.
Yeah. So I'm just and that's surface flow, right? That proceeds to the new channel in this plan
That is correct. Yes, based on the
and
contours.
combines with the southerly flow that's existing.
That is correct. Yes.
And so does that significantly increase the water that's going to be loading that new channel compared to the existing channel, or no?
No, we don't think so. We think that because of the mitigation in the parking lot, the infiltration that'll be there, plus the slowing
volume.
of the flows. We tried to make it so it would be very similar to what is there today.
So more or less the drains that take things underground will sort of
Well-
offset what might otherwise be more flow, or sort of more unimpeded impervious flow.
Oh yeah, that's the idea. I mean,
Okay.
the subsurface best management practices that we're proposing they're designed to offset any increase in the transmission of flows over the impervious area.
Got it.
Right. So I think what we're also trying to say is this outlet control structure, balances through the storage volume, releasing controlled flow to mimic what's there today for those same storm events.
I see.
So it's sized with a low flow orifice for the smaller storms up to 2-year storm, then an orifice for a 10, and then a weir for the larger storms. So that'll provide more retention time within the system, and then balance it through the outlet control structure.
Got it. I see the flow better now, but
Yeah.
in that basin that has some type of treatment system in it to sort of catch solids below the parking lot there?
That is correct. It's a contact CDS swirl chamber proprietary device that can be a graded inlet. So that'll be coordinated through the shop drawing process. And then the system itself will be an ADS crushed stone with the arch type of system. And that has an isolator row as well for pre-treatment prior to spilling up over into the other adjacent chambers. So there's kind of a belt and suspenders for TSS removal, spill prevention. As you know, by the combination of those two units.
Okay.
And the TSS worksheets are within the stormwater management report. In the
Just
same,
while we're on this topic, is there a detail of that system that you could flip to provide a visual?
sorry, I'm just scrolling quick. So these are the 4-foot deep sump catch basins with hoods. This is a detail elevation as well as plan view of those outlet control structures that I was describing. And then I believe on this sheet, this is the proprietary contact CDS swirl chamber unit. So there's 2 of those proposed. And then these are the detailed cross sections of the ADS system. So it's the stone, the fabric, and the ADS arch type system. And there's a manifold system that balances all of the storm water going into each chamber prior to it outflowing through the outlet control structure. You know, so detailed in the stormwater management report, there's, like Tom mentioned, long-term operation and maintenance, periodic inspections, cleaning, and so forth. And that's all described within the stormwater management report.
I know we have a DEP comment letter that was pretty insightful. But I also just wanted to ask about the mitigation really quickly. So are you doing BVW and bank mitigation on or BVW mitigation on a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1, or are you just?
It's not 2-to-1, but it is more than 1-to-1. I don't recall the number.
I can do that quick.
So basically, we have the, you can see in that detail there, basically the stream, the bank and stream replication. And then, we tried to keep it kind of the same juxtaposition to the channel that the existing BVW is in a kind of a narrow strip along the channel. So that crosshatched area north of the new channel is the BVW replication.
I think it's going to be over shortly.
Chuck, I could add,
Yeah, I think
the bank is 1.56 to 1 and BVW is 2.28 to 1.
Okay, so it is more than 2-to-1. And then I'm assuming in the NOI somewhere you have a table summarizing the impacts, or in your NOI form and your replications.
Yeah, we have that on the form and in the project narrative that we submitted.
Perfect.
And we have a detailed construction sequence, planting sequence for this area, because we basically have 3 different types of plantings. We've got what we're planting in the stream and how we're stabilizing that, what we're putting into BVW, the graded slopes to the north, we're going to plant with aspen, trying to create woodcock, a little strip of woodcock habitat. And then we've got some, I think it was white pine conifer plantings along basically between the channel and the building to provide some big visual screening for wildlife, and, as well as providing some dense cover.
Can you just help me visualize that slope on site, right back where the propane sits on top of? Is that, I mean, I see the propane there, so the BVW is sort of sloped, or are you planning on
No,
changing grade there?
We're flattening that out.
Oh,
Cutting
okay.
To that existing banking So we
I
have,
see.
so we have room for putting the channel, then basically flat from the channel back that variable width to the toe of a new slope. And then
Okay. And that new slope isn't gonna, sorry, I'm just trying to find the existing drainage ditch there.
there
Yeah.
really isn't a drainage ditch on this side. The drainage ditch.
It's
in
trying to
your
be, right?
pictures, oh yeah, that one is way up there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
And your planting schedule, what sheet is that on?
That's in the documents that were in the NOI submittal, not on the plan.
Oh, okay.
But we do call out, like Chuck mentioned, the white pines, and then the aspens. Sorry, aspens. And then that the hatching kind of represents the locations of the BVW.
I'm trying to get to it and,
You want me to stop sharing?
yeah, let me see if I. Trying to find a restoration plan for you. Where is it?
The sequence, Chuck,
I not find.
page 38.
I'm hoping I didn't forget to give you that after I did it. We got the habitat checklist. Oh, there, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's right near the end of the NOI submittal documents. If I can share that with you. Did that share or not?
No.
Not yet.
No. Come on. There we go.
There you go.
So basically we've got, we've specified basically 3 different planting and seeding areas, the stream channel itself, the BVW replication, and then that upland slope. The channel we were going to use, seed it with an erosion control restoration mix for wetland sites. Use New England, basically I always recommend New England wetland plants products for these kind of things. Using their wet mix for the BVW, and then their conservation and wildlife mix for the upland slope. And we're going to plant the actual banks of the new channel with winterberry and swamp dogwood. And then within the wetland replication, plant it with swamp dogwood, winterberry again, along with gray birch and red maple. We've got the row of white pine along the southern edge I mentioned, and then the plant the upland slope with quaking aspen.
Should we jump
You
to
have
the?
a- Sorry,
go
do you
ahead,
have a
Rachel.
sense of, with this planting plan and the work on site, for the new parking lot, do you have a sense of what the tree removal to create that parking lot is like, and what the ratio of trees that you're including in the mitigation is compared to the vegetation that's being removed?
I don't have, we really weren't mitigating the buffer zone impact with this. This was, basically this is mitigating our wetland impact with the buildings being expanded or connected. I was just looking at the, the parking lot is, typical buffer zone alteration. It is, as the picture showed, it is wooded. It's kind of a mix of red oak and black oak and some red maple thrown in that area.
Do you have an idea of when you would kind of in best case scenario, try to get that vegetation cleared? If would it be like during the, say, bat roosting season or bird nesting season? Those are issues that have been coming up more and more. So just get in front of it.
Well, fortunately, that it looks like that site was, basically is developed on an old field and is not. There's some good sized trees, but it's not very old. So we really don't have, large standing dead trees in there that would be bat roosting habitat.
Yeah, they roost on
But if
live
it-
trees, so
But that's something we can work through if you think we need to.
well, I'm just curious, just if you had a timing, a best case scenario, just to we can get in front of it. Just want to have for information.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pick you guys apart.
Well, I know it's the project as a whole is very important, obviously, to Mr. Capshaw's business. That element of it is probably ranks highest, at least as high as any other elements. They'd be eager to get going when construction can commence, and they can get firm footing. So
So that's phase one.
I think it'd be sooner as soon as they probably could.
Okay. Rachel, did I interrupt you earlier? Were you going to ask something?
I was gonna ask whether whether this plan includes soil specifications, and I just the knowing that one of the most prevalent reasons why wetland replications fail is because the soil it becomes is either not appropriate to wetland species, the soil that's used in a wetland replication area, and or it is very heavily compacted and means that the species that are established, even if they're appropriate for the site, don't
Yeah.
thrive.
Yeah, I did address the soil. I was very, in a lot of situations with replication, you try to use the topsoil from the wetland you're altering. In this case, I don't want that to happen. This site is, especially that, I don't know if I mentioned it, that channel between the buildings has almost like a roof of bittersweet growing over it. When was in there in the summer, you couldn't even see through it. It was so thick. So it's overrun with invasive species. So I don't want soil being used that has all those propagules in it. So I've had very good luck using it's from the soil I've specified is a wetland soil from AgriSource. They're in Lancaster. I've done several replication areas with that turned out quite well. So I've said to use that, or find some other acceptable source that's weed free and has the right, basically wetland characteristics. We could use that. Because I should have mentioned this, I think another key part of this is we've specified, because of the invasive species here, we've specified in this plan that basically a vegetation control specialist be retained over the course don't need them initially, but starting a few months after this thing is built to make sure we don't get overrun with bittersweet and other invasives in this. Obviously we can't do that forever, but at least to get the plantings and the seeding established and taking up the growing space before the invasives can try to get in there.
We
I'm
will
sorry,
have
did-
a 2-year post-construction monitoring and compliance
Yep.
for the full gamut. So
We did specify that in this construction sequence as well. Monitoring it twice a year for at least 2 growing seasons, or until you assure a certificate of compliance.
do you also have language in there stating that the wetland scientist will approve the soil or something like that.
Well, I said we'd use that agri-source or an approved equal, so I
Oh.
would,
This is just again, a comment. I'd love, I'd love to see some oaks in the planting plan, since there's oaks that are being removed, and that, if it was my building, I'd rather have oaks than, white pine that close to my building, but that's entirely personal. And I think that white pines completely, they're a native plant that completely come with the spirit of it, but that's just in terms of habitat value and replication for the site.
yeah, I was just thinking of the dense, especially when they're younger, the dense cover from the pine, but really
And
any species would work for what we're trying to accomplish on that edge of the stream. We could do a mix of them, I suppose.
I'd love to get to this DEP comment letter, because there's a couple comments that are pretty dense. And maybe,
There, I'm not sure if you have it. I believe Mr. Karen had also submitted some responses to that.
We did do that.
maybe we could get that on the record in this meeting.
Do you have that handy, Mitchell, or should I try to find it?
Mitch, do you have the DEP letter to share?
Yeah, I should have that.
Let me stop sharing.
I should have the response as well.
Okay, so the first comment is a request for certificate of compliance needs to be submitted for the previous order 1680320. The commission should review the wetland boundaries shown under that NOI OOC. Was that submitted, Mitch?
That was submitted. That's actually on this agenda later on as well. Which
Have
if
you
we
looked at
feel like we're,
the wetland
sorry, go
boundaries?
ahead.
Did you look at the wetland boundary, Mitch?
I did.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Chuck, did the boundary change in your delineation at all from the Ward Smith one from 2018?
No, I mean, there were a couple places I was a few feet below his line, a couple places I was a few feet above it. It was basically the same.
More or less the same.
More
Okay.
or less the same. And then the delineation on site matched almost exactly what was done for the 2018 edition or building, I mean.
Got it.
I think this is all of the I found, which it looks pretty similar to me. At least for the this part.
Did we get a as-built for the
Wait.
building? Oh, sorry, Kristen, if you were
What
gonna,
about the parking lot and the wetland to the north? Do we have any data from Wordsmith for that?
I
That
don't think
that
so.
wasn't part of the scope of the previous submission.
So that wetland was delineated for the first time in October.
Well,
2020.
No.
I delineated, Ward had done it, I think, for the redevelopment authority.
Yeah, I could jump in on that. Ward did it. They wanted to sell me the land. I said, there's no way I'm buying that because it's wetlands and I can't build a building on it. And I said, you need to, delineate that so that I talked to MJ Adams, who I think is on this, and the town had it delineated, the GRA, and that's where Ward Smith came in.
Okay, and that was 2018, and then it was,
No, that was like last year.
oh, okay.
Yeah, all his flags were still there and visible when I reflagged it.
No.
Just a procedural question, Mitch, in terms of the agenda here. Is there, like, should we be reviewing the OOC then before this? Like, can we approve an NOI logistically before there's no OOC? You're not.
Yeah, I was gonna
you
bring that
have
up,
to-
if it felt like we were reaching like a motion. I think MACC recommends doing the COC first. Which is why I had them submit the RCOC, and then we can postpone this till after that discussion. If we feel like we want to do that. I think Mark Stinson, I mean, he wanted a request at least submitted as well.
Yeah, I don't think we can approve an NOI with an open OOC because there's you can't have two different DEP numbers for the same valid for the same property. So if we found for whatever reason that we needed to request any changes before being able to issue an order of compliance, we would need to do that before being able to issue a new NOI. That's my understanding anyway.
On that subject, is there an as-built for the second building that was submitted with the request?
I didn't receive an as-built.
No, we weren't involved, so I'm speculating. I'm the new engineer, not the old team. If you were looking for an as-built, I suppose you could use the existing conditions of the plans that we just submitted.
That's the final condition on the order of conditions for the previous project was to submit an as-built for the once the building's done as a comparison for the planned.
Yeah,
plans.
Just in the for the sake of trying to be helpful. It's
Sure.
possible that you could accept that our existing conditions survey that we just did within the last month as an as-built if you wanted. It was done by a surveyor.
Got it. Yeah, this is a thing that comes up over and over again is people seem to miss that condition often.
And I can share that survey. It's attached to the plan set at the end. So here's our survey prepared by Heritage. And it shows the existing structures, the existing parking area, and the existing features that we're talking about.
Got it.
So
I think we can, when we're dealing specifically with the request for a certificate of compliance, we can definitely, that'll be helpful to have that. Should we continue on the DEP comments? I think there was a chunky one there about resource area impacts that I didn't totally understand the response to.
Yeah.
And it was also an outstanding question that I had.
Which number is that?
Do
you want to go through each of them, or would you?
Yeah, let's go. I think it's number 3, but let's go to number 2 because that one's also.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
So we have number 2, the commission should review the historic aerials from 1971 and other years to get an understanding for the site prior to and after the construction of the original building in the early 1980s. The NOI narrative discusses the disturbed nature of the stream and wetlands. Please note that the first NOI submitted to the Greenfield Conservation Commission was in June of 1973, and it may be that no NOI filing was submitted for the building construction or for what appears to be a relocation of the stream and wetlands. This supposition is based on aerial photos and permitting records. Mitch, were you able to look into that at all?
Well,
Yeah, I pulled up some aerials. I mean, they're old. I don't know helpful these are. We
I think
definitely
it-
don't have.
I think the
records
comment
to go
letter,
back that far.
it's worded because it's the applicant is stating that they suspect that that stream where they're proposing to relocate was originally relocated, and that's further justification for future relocation. So it's like,
not, well, no, I guess I wouldn't say that. I kind of took that comment as just as that, a comment. I don't see that it's too relevant either way. I mean, our discussion of
I was gonna say, I think it's relevant just to,
it's just kind of put things in context. It's not justification for anything. We are just, we've dealt with the impacts and mitigation based on what's there on the ground today, not what it might have been if that ditch had been constructed right.
yeah,
So,
that makes
I don't
sense.
think it really matters.
I think it is relevant just in the sense of the historic sort of hydrologic pattern on the land there. And so I just find it relevant in that sense when we're kind of looking at whether the system was truly, like rerouted, relocated drastically, or if it's just degraded or what.
Mhm.
So not that this is going to tell us, but in 71, it looks like it was left vegetated around a channel that's in roughly the same spot as the existing channel that goes between the buildings. So,
Yep.
who knows, 100 years
Really?
ago, that could have been moved by a farmer or something, but
can you point out specifically on the 71 photo where we're looking here?
see that little strip of forest that goes down? That is the channel,
the
as far as
channel.
I can tell. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What's that road that's above it?
It's probably just an old,
That little strip, it looks like a road. I'm not sure that's. Yeah, I don't know.
do you think that's more northerly then?
I'm almost think where the crosshairs are there might be this, like there might be this. And
Because
I was assuming that what's showing up as a little dirt road is the subdivision road, but
well, I think that goes to
I
the
could be
is it
complete-
Mackin? That's to the east there. There's a big open
But that's
sand
up the
pit or
hill a
something.
ways.
Right.
That's
That's why
quite
I'm
a bit
wondering too
far
now
up.
as we're looking at this. But if
That-
we go down, we can see it in context to the building, I think. Hmm.
not much, there's no good landmarks on that 71 photo, are there?
Yeah.
We can see the ditch there in that one, the 2005.
Mitch, if you pulled up this particular website, and maybe we just zoom in and out real quick that way to get a better
Yeah, let me look for that.
orientation here.
And because I know when
will say from the site visits in 2018, from my memory of the site visits with Lord and Phil Luttrell was also involved at that point. It does match the description of a disturbed, like it's clearly a built system that has been neglected and overgrown. So that is what my memory of the site is as well.
Yeah, looking at a recent aerial with tree cover, without tree cover, it looks like that first historic aerial from 71 is actually from north along what is now Butternut Street and not the system in question.
Yeah, and I know when we were researching and trying to understand some of the history, what may have happened, and we did ask the surveyor to dive into the deed research as it pertained to the easement for the drainage in an west to east fashion, and the purposes for it in the early 80s. It seemed pretty clear it was to benefit the industrial users in this way by routing the stormwater into that 36-inch pipe, which, to be quite frank with you, what I'd love to do is really put efforts into fixing that ditch as was originally intended. I think that would be better for everyone, but we understand that we have to be careful about making sure we follow all the rules, you know, and not just the
Yeah,
ones.
that ditch is now a resource area, so that would just
Right, so that's why we're
multiplying the
Yeah.
proposing what we are, but we
Well,
are
I think,
trying to replicate the essence of it too, not just the letter of law and what it was originally intended to do.
right. And, you know, I don't have that expertise. Not a wetland scientist, hydrologist, anything like that, but I agree it sort of makes more sense to kind of work with what's there. And as far as I can tell, based on the next comment we're going to review from DEP, is the current plan doesn't conform with the act either. So
I
I understand. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. I think we're going to talk about that in a second, but
Before
yeah.
you reference a comment, can we go back
Sure.
and pull the letter up and actually read the comment?
Yep.
Mitch,
number 3.
thanks. Comment number 3, the narrative discusses compliance with the bank performance standards. However, the narrative discusses compliance with the proposed relocation channel, yet the performance standards for bank require compliance for work in the existing channel, not the relocated channel. The work was not submitted as a limited project, therefore full compliance with the performance standards are required. 310 CMR 1054-4A2 states the water carrying capacity of the existing channel within the bank. The commission should carefully review compliance with the performance standards for bank, BVW, and LUWW.
I'll dive into that. But basically, I think that DEP is wrong with that comment. I don't know how to put it any nicer. There's the when you read that performance standard, it says the project has to maintain the water carrying capacity. And I take it says of the existing channel within the bank. So I think what it's saying is within the bank, there's a channel, and you have to maintain that water carrying capacity. It doesn't have to say you have to maintain it within that channel. There's an existing channel whose capacity you have to maintain. And I think that I tried to explain it in my letter, probably poorly. The reason I think it is specifically worded that way is that the top of bank is the first break and slope or the annual high water level, whichever is lower. So you could have something that is a well-defined channel way above what is the top of bank that would have a much greater water carrying capacity. So we're looking at what in that defined bank is as existing. The other reason I think that makes no sense is that the commissions and departments and the department approved projects where, I mean, I've been involved in several projects where streams were shifted, so that capacity wasn't within it. When basically every culvert project, every crossing where you put a culvert in has to meet this performance standard, which DEP approves all the time. And that culvert is never aligned where that channel is exactly.
Well, that would also
Its
have to meet
capacity is above and below in the sides of the bank.
that would have to meet the Massachusetts stream crossing
Stream crossing.
standards, but this
Right,
is different.
that's right.
This is the relocation of a whole
This is
entire
different.
bank.
Yeah. But I'm saying all those projects don't. I think this is just the semantics of the way that sentence is worded. I also want to point out there is no land under waterway here because it's an intermittent stream. So I don't know why
That's because the Greenfield local ordinance considers intermittent streams. There's a riverfront area associated with intermittent streams, and so
right, but
that
not land
triggers the
under.
land underwater. Because I believe
No, I mean, and DEP shouldn't be commenting on that anyways. So I mean, fundamentally, I just disagree with Mark's interpretation of that performance standard.
What about for BVW? Do you have comments on the BVW performance standards?
Well, we have, I mean, the performance standard for BVW is to have at least one-to-one replication. That's
For up to 5,000.
right, up to 5,000, right. Well, the replication can be more than 5,000. The alteration can be up to 5,000. Then you're replicating it, you know, and then without restrictions to the resource areas, et cetera. So I feel that the replication design along that new channel meets that requirement.
I do have the performance standards up right now, if any of the commission members want to dive deeper into that, or if they feel this issue is squashed.
Well, I mean, I now understand what your interpretation of the bank standard is better, but I guess I'm not saying that the way you're interpreting isn't in this case. Like, I think it's arguable which is better for the site, for example, but I just don't agree that the act is saying it's not like, I think it's that existing channel and that existing bank that the act is talking specifically about, and that this is moving that.
I think you need to pull it. What the little snippet he pulled out here kind of takes things out of context a bit too. So you know, it basically says you've got to have the water carrying capacity of the existing channel. It doesn't say that that capacity has to be in the existing channel.
And we have that.
Kristen, were you pulling up the bank? Performance
Yeah,
standards?
I've got
Okay.
that. If you want me to share it, can I? Oops, I lost my Zoom thing. Let me share. Oops, I've got the wrong screen up. Hang on, let me move this guy to over there. Can you guys see the Wetlands Protection Act on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sometimes I have 3 screens, so sometimes I get mixed up. So this is 10.54, which is bank, and then under general performance standards. So where the presumption set forth is not overcome, work on a bank shall not impair the following: the physical stability of the bank, the water carrying capacity within the existing channel, groundwater and surface water quality, the capacity of the bank to provide breeding habitat, and there is a wetlands wildlife habitat, a detailed wildlife habitat data form in the NOI. Or 5, the capacity of the bank to provide important wildlife habitat functions. Again, go back to that 10.60 detailed wildlife habitat evaluation. Notwithstanding the provisions, structures may be permitted in or on bank where required to prevent flood damage. That's not really relevant here. And so that's pretty much it. So personally, I would like to see some kind of an argument made for how this is the relocation of the stream channel is improving the water carrying capacity of that bank, and how you're improving the surface water quality, the groundwater quality, the wildlife habitat value, that wildlife habitat quality, to kind of demonstrate how you're meeting those performance standards by improving the habitat and relocating the stream. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, we can address that for sure. I do see Mr. Karen's point in it's a subtle one. The water, what it says is any proposed work on a bank shall not impair the following, the water carrying capacity of the existing channel within the bank. But it doesn't say that that has to occur within the existing bank. And that's exactly what we're doing. And that's why you replicate. And we've demonstrated clearly by representation, testimony, and drainage computations that our drainage system does not impair those characteristics.
Yeah, we don't really have the replication standards like we do in the 10.55.
That's not what I just said.
Well, I think it's those five standards there.
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry. I just want to finish this one thought. What I just said was pertaining to the hydraulic, to number 2, the water carrying capacity of the bank. I didn't mean that statement to address the other meaningful comments that the chair had brought up. I think we've done that. I think we can do that if we need to say, represent more. That's what we're here for. If there's ideas that we could do it better, we're all ears. We think we've, we feel very strongly about that hydraulic element. And we think not only does it make common sense, it satisfies the criteria. And that's why we propose it, quite frankly. And so if there's anything else pertaining to the other elements, we'd be glad to try and address those too.
I just want to finish my comment, regardless of which interpretation is correct. I mean, when I see the physical stability of the bank, to me, that means the existing bank. And if you're, building a building over it, then that's, but regardless of which it is, I mean, I yield to Chuck's experience. If he's seen it interpreted different ways other times, that's fine. But my only point in saying that bringing up the fact that the existing proposal might not comply with these standards is just to say, if we're already looking at something that is going to be a significant variation sort of, or if there's significant interpretation going on here as to how this project fits in with the act, and that we're really looking at the overall improvement of the site. And if, as Tom said, there's an existing channel already, and that it may be that the sort of hydrology and overall benefit would work better if it incorporated that channel rather than building a whole other channel right below it, then I personally would like to look at that. I know there was maybe some sort of real estate complication given it's an easement. I don't know, but I just rather than try to, sort of mimic the letter of something, if we're already sort of varying, stepping outside of it a bit, I'd like to see things kind of be built more into the landscape as it is, if that's an option. So that's where my comment was going, not to say that, just it was invalid because of some catch-on language there.
Well, I would add too, if you think about it a little more, if the bank is no longer going to exist, but the bank is now the one that we've relocated, right? That's the bank. Well, we are meeting the performance standards for the bank. We're actually making the bank longer. We're increasing the water carrying capacity of it. We're addressing the stability of the bank. The bank just happens to be in a different orientation. Just like Chuck said, banks become orientated differently in many occasions to align with our infrastructure needs. So we will be providing, we've demonstrated the capacity of the bank for the breeding habitat and the water carrying capacity and the stability, but I think about it a little bit different. It doesn't make sense to me to achieve both in the existing and the new one. It's actually impossible.
Is there anything else, any other questions from commissioners about this particular question? Should we move on to the next question from the DEP?
You want me to keep it on my screen, Rachel, or do you want to flip it back over? Or Mitch?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
If we're done.
Actually, hang on. Do I have the original DEP letter? I can't pull up the DEP letter and the response letter at the same time because I only have, unless I log into the Google Drive in 2 different browsers. So
That's okay. You can scroll down to the question 4.
Okay. All right.
I
So
actually have the question verbatim from DEP in that letter. So
okay, perfect. Thank you. Mass DEP notes the project proponents' use of the Mass Stormwater Technology Evaluation Project, or MASTEP, as a reference for alternative structural stormwater BMPs to address TSS removal, that's total suspended solids. As this reference website is no longer active, Mass DEP out of date since 2014 and no longer funded, suggests that a comparable alternative resource that may be considered to demonstrate compliance with TSS removal may be found at the following link. The underground stormwater chambers are subject to UIC program requirements, and then there's another URL link.
Yeah, we acknowledge that. It was probably improperly referenced. The performance of the system remains unchanged and remains compliant. And I was thinking of waiting till after this hearing to redress that report to reflect that.
Okay, perfect. Shall I move on to number 5, or do the commissioners have any more discussion on number 4? Okay, number 5 is guidance for compliance with the stormwater standards will be sent to the parties in the file number notification email. Please note these standards are regulatory, not policy, as it is called a policy in the NOI narrative. These have been regulatory since 2008.
Yes,
That's
oversight.
My fault. That's my fault having to do it. I just so used to calling it policy from way back. I just
All right.
do it without thinking.
Any other comments on that before I move on to number 6? Okay. Test pit locations need to be shown on the plan. Test pits need to be done at the proposed area of infiltration if not already done. Per volume 3, chapter 1 of the stormwater handbook, a competent soils professional conducts a site visit to verify soil conditions on the site. Please see table 2.3.1, and the report must include a statement that the soils are similar or not similar to the descriptions found in the NRCS soils report. Do you want to check the response?
Oh,
I'm
Larry.
Or
I'm glad to.
okay.
Yeah, we do show test pit locations 1, 2, and 6 on C5. We can show after if
Okay.
unless you'd like a shot. I don't want to interrupt your
Yeah, I
control.
have to look.
It's done there.
I should open another browser though.
No, that's okay. I personally oversaw the test pits at the site. The results are located in the stormwater management report. Noteworthy, we did poorly scribe one of the test pits in a key location. It just happens to be under other text. It's kind of a Scribner's error, but we drew attention to that here, and we can emphasize anything else. But the work has been we did that.
I actually forgot to mention, I thought of this earlier, but the discussion was rolling and I forgot to bring it up later. If the soils in your investigations were described in the NOI, and what your findings were, in terms of permeability and depth to water table and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we did, the results are actually in the stormwater management report. We did, I forget exactly how many, but at least 6 test pits on the northern part of the site. And they were done by an excavator. We went down, I think, at least 10 feet in all of them. We found no refusal, no groundwater. There were some areas where I saw silty areas, and I said there's potential redoxy morphic features there. We didn't do perk tests, but to offset that, we took a conservative view in the Rawls rate of the infiltration of our stormwater system. I think it's actually pretty conservative as such. Yet we still comply with the stormwater management standards, and I'm confident in saying that the map soil results, there wasn't major surprises.
Okay, okay. Any other commissioners want to discuss that one before we move on? Okay. And then just 2 more, guys. It looks like number 7, it may be that the proposed work is not permittable under the submitted regulatory pathway. The applicant might review the requirements of submitting the work as an ecological restoration limited project. If that pathway is chosen, the applicant would need to prove that the work will restore the hydrological connection to the downstream ecosystem, restoring the functions and values of the stream and wetlands as they existed prior to the likely unpermitted anthropogenic activity to the maximum extent practical. And I think this ties back into his earlier comment in number 3, where he sounded like he was alluding to the fact, and I think I even heard one of the presenters say something about there may have been a stream alteration or relocation some time ago, but we don't know. So that's my interpretation of that. But Chuck or Dom want to address
basically, we believe that it could be permitted as it's as it's been submitted, if the commission determines that we meet the performance standards for bank and BVW, which we think we do. And this really would not be permittable as an ecological restoration project, because right in the regulations, to be an ecological restoration limited project, the project's primary purpose has to be ecological restoration, which really, I mean, that's not the case. That's not our primary purpose here. I think what we propose would actually be, improve the ecological conditions of that wetland system, but technically, it doesn't meet the requirements for an ecological restoration limited project.
Yeah, it sounds like would have to be broken off into a separate project for that to happen, which I could understand being.
Which would not look right if we've already proposed something, then to say we're going to move it and
Right.
then that.
Any other commissioner comments on that one, or should I go to number 8? To help ensure that conservation commissions have sufficient expertise available to address specific issues regarding the applicant's filing, Master General Laws, section 44, or chapter 44, sorry, section 53G gives commissions authority to charge a fee for the employment of outside consultants that allows for the use of fee to ensure they have the necessary information to make them a decision pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act. That is in reference to hiring a third-party review consultant, since we are volunteers. And I don't know if anyone has any comments on that, including the applicant.
We don't.
I mean, I personally would not mind seeing such a review of the proposed mitigation area, just because I don't necessarily feel comfortable with the current level of detail that's been provided, even if there is more, saying that it is going to be a truly better situation overall once that's in place. And I guess I still have a question about building this wetland below that existing channel, and maybe that there's already been reasons given why it's not feasible to go with the existing channel there. But just overall, it would make me personally more comfortable to have a review of the mitigation system. I think a lot of other things have been explained in a lot more detail here, which was helpful, but that's my thought. But if other commissioners are satisfied, that's.
I kind of side with you, Fletcher, just because of the different interpretations of the act, and I would like a third party opinion on that personally. And just to make sure that we're not setting a precedent if we permit something that, maybe not interpreted the way we're interpreting it by the state and by other commissions.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I paid these guys $30,000 because they're experts in this. And I think that if I read it right, if you get a second opinion, I'd have to pay for that, right?
We'd probably ask that the applicant pay, yeah. But I don't, this is a review of the existing plans. So I don't know, you brought up a number that's 30,000. I don't think, we wouldn't know until we got estimates, but I don't think you're dealing with anything like that. Even in that ballpark, but.
Not even close, yeah.
So how long do you think that would delay this?
depends on consultant availability and our meeting schedule, but I mean, it's hard to say depending what the consultant brings back as information to us. So if you can imagine us getting bids and then the consultant coming on site and reviewing, getting us back the information, and then at the next meeting, us dealing with all that and potentially issuing a decision one way or the other, then that's the delay. But I mean, I mean, maybe other commissioners can maybe the Chuck or someone can talk about this, but there seems to be a very little detail on the constructed wetland, at least in sort of a plan sense, visual sense.
We have
To help
the,
me,
I'm sorry.
there's a cross section there, but
Well,
we have a detailed blow up of that area we were looking at on the plans. And then we have like a 3 or 4 page construction or 3-page construction sequence for that area with a lot of the specifications in there.
yeah, there's a lot of detail, I thought.
I'm just saying for me understanding the sort of situation on the ground there, that I'm only speaking for myself.
There we
so.
go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Has Mitch had a chance to review those elements?
I've looked it over. Yeah. I think you would have a better understanding of it though.
Well, we
I'm-
tried to provide a great level of detail to have a good educated discussion along with dialogue that's in the notice of intent and stormwater management report. We tried to detail it with real information, just to the level that normally the industry would. But we understand that if you'd like more explanation, that we'll get that for you.
Okay, I just want to chime in. I feel like you're at a decision point, right? I'm not one to offer my expertise in these matters. There's a reason I've shut up during this whole thing because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I know that we have a 50-year history of doing things the right way in town. We're not someone who's come from out of nowhere. We spent a lot of money putting these plans into place. And it occurs to me that you want a second opinion because there's gray area and you can go left or you can go right, right? And it's up to you to interpret responsibly which way you can go. I wonder if in the industrial park, which was meant to put a lot of buildings and a lot of jobs, you could apply, you could think about going in the yes direction when it's clearly gray area. I don't know much. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't know what I'm talking about. But based on you talking to yourselves, it's clearly gray area. And it's within your purview to be able to say yes. And we clearly are doing a ton of work to do the right thing. If you walk the land, it's so obvious to me, right, that if we replicate these wetlands out back, there's going to be no impact. It's arguably, as Tom said, going to be longer than it is now. So I can't understand, why you would make this decision. And I guess that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
I'm going to chime in here. I unfortunately, Fletcher, I'm going to have to turn things over to you because I've pushed my ability to participate as long as I can. I will say that if it came down to it, I would not vote for having a priority review for essentially that reason. We had a really long discussion as part of the previous application on site about the history of this particular piece of land, and spent some time with Ward looking at the other irrigation channels and the way that they all connect and the drainage system in the industrial park. And I think if this was a greenfield development and we were taking a natural channel that had not been constructed and needing to move it and, you know, and install an underground drainage system to replicate something that was entirely daylighted, absolutely. In this case, seeing that, knowing the condition that currently is, and just the legibility and the landscape of how constructed in unnatural straight lines the system that is being replicated is like that, it's not, it doesn't feel like it validates that to me. So I understand there's some gray area with the wording of the capacity of the channel. I think that there's no question in my mind that it's, you know, it's permittable to change a previously located irrigation channel into a new location. And that's what I see this as. And that's what my understanding of the system was from having been out on the site before. So
Are we going forward?
Sorry.
Are we going forward saying that this stream has been relocated before? Is that the opinion?
This like is 1/10 of a massive drainage system that was constructed to make the industrial park viable as an industrial park. This is one of like 10 drainage channels that you can see from the road that were constructed in order to allow as many buildings as possible to be fit into a small space in order to concentrate the industry in town and reduce its overall impact, to reduce sprawl for industry. And that's what it reads on the landscape, is it reads as a series of straight 90-degree angled channels that have been poorly maintained and allowed to like become overgrown with bittersweet. I don't think it's really a valuable discussion to like whether it was permitted properly in the 1970s or not. Like I think that's Mark doing his due diligence and his need to bring that up, but I don't really see how that, you know, changes what we have at hand, which is a constructed ditch that has been allowed to become overgrown and is now regular in like, you know, that now falls under a regulatory area that's being proposed to be replaced with a equally dug. I'm sorry, I just lost you. I don't know what happened. My daughter hit something. Am I still on or did I leave?
Yeah, we could
Still
still
on.
hear
We
you.
got you.
Oh, geez.
And she's hamming it up for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, did that answer your question, Kristen?
I don't know if I had a question. Oh yeah, about the stream being relocated. Well, because that was what I thought I heard that a couple times in the discussion, but I don't know. So I was just wondering. And then I heard some denial. So I'm just trying to get the record straight.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at that and it was a really interesting, like we walked around a little bit with Ward last time, kind of off the property and tried to figure out where all these different connections are. And it was, you know, I no idea what was there before 1970, but what is there, what is being proposed to be replaced was definitely constructed. It's not a natural stream. My read in the landscape is that that's not where it was originally, and I can't say, you know, what the flow, a natural flow is, but I don't see this as a drastic change to what had been constructed in the past. I apologize. I tried to set up a system so that I could fully participate in this meeting, and I wasn't able to. So I'm sorry to turn this over to you, Fletcher.
All good. All good.
And
And thank you for that
Thank you.
extra context. That was really helpful to hear Ward's thoughts and your own. So So Mitch, do we have to take a vote for a new chair here, or do we just keep going?
I would say probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since,
I'll motion for Fletcher to continue as chair of the meeting. Continue facilitating the meeting to allow it to continue.
Second,
Oh,
I'll go down in order that I have in my screen. I'm an I, Erica.
Aye.
Fletcher,
abstain, I think.
Kristen.
I,
Okay, so that's approved. Thank you, Fletcher. I appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, good luck.
Right.
night.
Thank you.
So, Steve, as you can see, that was additional context from Rachel and hearing from Ward as well there. And that helps me, because again, this isn't, I'm not an expert on hydrology here, but to sort of give you some more context, there's some pretty significant impacts happening to the land here. And it looks like this particular channel is like what the water wants to do here. And the existing drainage ditches and stuff that Rachel was just talking about are being, they're not utilized here because they weren't working. So this channel is going where it wants to go. And I just didn't feel qualified here saying that this new proposed one is sort of fulfilling the same role in that sense. And, but, you know, I totally understand the perspective of a very degraded area and a serious effort being put into to build it back in a better sense with the mitigated area. So, Kristen, did Rachel's comments give you any change of heart? I will also say that my comments weren't all just my own opinion. I spoke with someone at DEP, and you saw some of the comments in the letter there. And they are by far more experienced than we are at interpreting the letter of the act. And they felt that it was a serious conflict with that, as much as I do understand where Chuck is coming from. But again, it, you know, if it's improving the overall situation, and again, this is a seriously degraded area, I'm not going to push back if, you know, I mean, I guess I want to hear from the other commissioners here and potentially from Mitch, if you think it, and also from Tom, I mean, and everybody else, like if there's existing drainage channels already, does it degrade there even more just to dig another channel below that and sort of have these, you know, water being intercepted by that channel above, and then maybe not even, I don't know.
No,
I understand it's turning a corner there, but
I'll give you the short version.
yeah.
I wish I could say that it was. My opinion is it won't, because that channel is not taking flow in that fashion. Right. And although I wish it was performing to the level that a 36-inch RCP pipe at the end of it would be justified. Larry, can you zoom in that quickly, please?
I don't
Sorry,
I mean,
I have control.
You're turning the corner with the mitigation. If you just turn the corner a little more to the north, you would be in the channel, is all I'm saying. Does that make sense?
We have other elements that we need to address, because regulated areas have technically now occur within the area that we're going to displace. We believe, our understanding of the act is we need to replicate those. And this structure is not only taking the hydraulic, performing the hydraulic functions, which is, you know, part of the performance standard that Kristen has read, but also the wetland elements, the bank and the BVW. This is what we're using. So in essence, the way I've thought about this, if you turn that 90 degrees counterclockwise, it's the bank.
Do you talk about the flood storage capacity at all for the underground structure and loss of
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yep.
I just
Well,
feel like this is a lot of information. I mean, I don't know. I would feel more comfortable having somebody who is devoted to just reviewing this single project, come with comments and advise the commission, who are volunteers, on any, things that are outstanding in this application. I do appreciate what Rachel said, and it does make sense that of all the places in Greenfield where kind of redevelopment like this should go, it makes sense that it would be in the industrial park. But we do have standards and regulations, and we can't set a precedent for the next applicant by allowing something that isn't really in line with our bylaw or the state regulations. So I would like some clarity personally, that's just my opinion, on how this, complies with our city ordinance, and just confirmation on how it complies with the State Wetlands Protection Act.
I just want to point out also, it's irrelevant how much money is spent on a particular project to present. I mean, this isn't like this is the first time we've heard this, and I understand there was a week delay with that fumbled link, but which we do regret. But this is the first time we're seeing this, and we've obviously digested it ourselves from when it was submitted. But as Kristen said, it's a lot to digest, and we all have our own expertise, and I don't think it's unreasonable to be looking for another opinion on this. But again, I'd like to hear more. Chuck, go ahead. You were going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, I know Ward and are comfortable with him, and he's familiar with the site. One of Steve's biggest concerns here is the time frame. If we just forego having to get bids and track people down, if we just see if we can get Ward to look at it and give you his thoughts on it, that might be probably the most expeditious way to get where you want to get to.
I mean, I definitely think Ward is an opinion that I would like to hear. I mean, it sounds like Rachel had some of that feedback already from us earlier today, which is sort of, again, changed my mind a bit, but I don't know. So we could get a motion. Well, actually, I think, Mitch, at this point, do we need to close out the previous order of conditions, or is that just a suggestion, or is that something that we actually have to do?
Well, are we thinking of making a motion to issue an OOC? Or are we thinking peer review?
Well, I was gonna, I guess that does change whether we need to do that or not.
My understanding is you just need to have the order of condition, the certificate of compliance issued before you issued a new order
Certificate of,
so
another order of conditions or certificate of compliance?
I'm sorry, the timing is just going to be that I believe the certificate of compliance should be issued at some point before the order is issued.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a certificate to have discussions or continue meetings or hold a hearing or anything. Just
Yeah, I think we can discuss it. I think
whether that's done weeks ahead of time or seconds differentiated, I don't think it matters.
Is the RCOC on the Google Drive, Mitch?
Yeah, it should be in the same folder as just the 15 Greenfield Street folder.
Oh, okay,
And
thank you.
then the old NOI.
There are two NOIs, or there's an NOI and an RDA.
Yeah, I think the RDA is just for delineation.
Okay. Oh, 2023 RCOC.
Yes, what are we thinking, Fletcher?
I'm just reviewing the documentation for the certificate of compliance here, but
Okay.
again, I hate to defer to, I hate to go back and forth here and sort of put it on one commissioner. But it sounds like Chris and I are the ones who have additional questions here. And, Chuck, you suggested having Ward take a look at it. That'd be fine. I don't believe we need to do like a bid out process for 3 different consultants or anything like that in this particular case.
As long
I
as
guess-
the applicant is happy with doing that, I think you usually have to get 3 bids if people are worried about
Costs.
You're gonna select
Right. Yeah. And I don't think we can issue an OOC with a condition of sort of having to have that done for, like, that has to be done first, right? Yeah, so Kristen, given the additional sort of information from Rachel and Ward there, I don't know. It's I can see the argument that it's a impacted site overall, but I mean, there's still the language of the act and the specifics of this constructed wetland, and yeah. So if there's a motion, we can make a motion. I'm still leaning on having an outside consultant take a look at this, and I would be happy if that was Ward. If the applicant's happy with the cost there, try to expedite it as much as possible. But yeah.
Looks like we may have comments from the public or
Yeah,
an applicant.
MJ?
Yes. I'm MJ Adams. I'm Director of Community and Economic Development. I'm the one who actually engaged Ward to take a look at the site before we sold the parcel of land to Valley Steel Stamp. I'm curious if there might be an opportunity to do something a little less stringent than the peer review that you're talking about to satisfy some concerns that you might have.
When you say less stringent, we were just talking about having what's that?
I mean, I understand that it sounds like it's been a disturbed area. Clearly, I'm support staff for the Greenfield Redevelopment Authority. We sold this parcel to Valley Steel Stamp because we understood, number one, that they needed to make some expansions on their existing site. They have been operating and are a very important manufacturer for the city. We want to work with them to see that they can advance what they're trying to do at the site. We knew that the site that we sold to them was less than ideal. We were well aware of that. That's why we had Ward take a look at it. And I'm just curious if there's a way that we can advance this more more quickly than a sort of a more formalized peer review. My understanding in talking with Eric is that we've done peer review historically, but on fairly large projects, that this one doesn't seem to rise to that scale. And if there is a way to advance this, satisfy your concerns about the wetlands issues that you have at the site without compelling it into or propelling it into a full peer review situation.
I'm not sure if you're using, if we're talking about different processes here. We're just talking about having a consultant look at the site and look at the wetland mitigation and just offer up, you know, their opinions and any additional information on that, which, you know, depending on the availability of the consultant, could happen really quickly.
Okay.
But I
Like
hear
I
what you're
said,
saying.
I'm just very aware that, you know, that there is a time sensitivity on this.
Sure.
And
again, I'll just say again, we're only just hearing about this for the first time today, or I should say in a hearing sense, in a public hearing sense. Obviously, we've seen the documentation prior to this. And this is just my, you know, there's other members here and there could be a motion and it could go a different way. I just want to also emphasize, this isn't just me. Without sort of what I've heard from DEP on this, I wouldn't, you know, I'd be deferring to some other people I've heard opinions from today, but I already had outstanding concerns reading the documentation, hearing from DEP. They mirrored those concerns. So it's not, again, if it wasn't for that, you know, I absolutely acknowledge this area is impaired pretty significantly, and there's other places to focus effort, but or our attention, but that's.
And I'll just add to MJ, if for what it's worth, you know, we do usually reserve the right to ask for a third-party review for larger projects, but we're talking about actual resource area impacts on this proposal. So while it's not huge, there are resource area impacts. It's not, you know, just it's not a culvert replacement where there's, you know, maybe 50 linear feet of bank. It's the relocation of a stream. So I want to make sure I'm understanding the regulations correctly and we're not setting a precedent that the city could open a can of worms. That's my concern personally. I don't know. That's
no, understood and respect. And, you know, I'll share with you that wetlands is not my area of expertise. I'm here because I'm interested in seeing a very important manufacturer in our community be able to expand and continue the operations that he does, and that, you know, it's a very important manufacturing operation in the city of Greenfield. And we've been working to try to find a way for him to continue his operations and expand to employ people in our own community. So just, but absolutely understand that there are wetlands issues at play here. We were well aware of that as the GRA was selling him the site. So.
Are there any other comments or any from the commission, Erica, or any public members?
I basically agree with Rachel, because I was on the commission when we did the 2018 one, and we spent a lot of time discussing the stream at that time. Because I think they wanted to put a covering over it or something. They wanted to have a walkway over it. And I'm not sure whether that ever happened. But if other people are uncomfortable going ahead, I want to respect that. And so, but I think maybe, you know, that might be a good compromise, just to see if Ward could come and take a look, and somebody we know. And
yeah, if he's familiar with the site, all he would have to do is look at the permit application in theory. Right.
Yeah, and depending on how what the availability is of Ward, I mean, we have another meeting coming up next week. And, that would also give us a chance to talk to DEP, given the information that was brought to light tonight. So that would be a fairly,
I
what do you
do
think,
want to
Chuck?
point out that the commission is the approving authority, not DEP. DEP. at
But
this
DEP
stage-
provides
at
guidance
this-
on,
DEP at
Sure.
this stage should be the appeal authority and not biasing their future decisions by even comment. Other regions of DEP would not even talk to you. It's
Mhm.
only the Western region that does this.
Do you want an appeal?
With-
Do you want an SOC?
with comments or,
No, I'm
You're
just
talking
saying,
about the-
it's- no, I just say, I don't,
Right.
it bugs me the way they, you guys are the approving authority, not DEP.
And I will also just say, we haven't talked a lot about the ordinance and the compliance with the ordinance, which I know there's a lot to discuss on our ordinance. So there's that too.
yeah.
Well, what
Is,
are we
uh,
doing? Are we,
Well, I mean, if someone wants to make a motion, can do that.
a motion
Um,
on the RCOC or a motion to continue or a motion to what?
Could be any of those things. I mean, I think,
I think it's a motion to continue and see if we can get Ward to look at this.
that's
motion to-
my,
I'll motion to continue, but I do have a question about the request for a certificate of compliance. So are we able to, is that on the agenda tonight? Are we able to actually address that this evening?
It's
Or,
on the agenda, yeah.
okay, so it's coming up
Further
later.
down.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was confused if it was like bundled into this because I didn't see it on the agenda. All right, so I'll motion to
It should be.
continue until next week and pending a request for a third party review proposal estimate. And don't have the DEP file number off the top of my head, sorry.
I'll
it's,
second that.
It is 168,353.
353, okay, sorry, I was looking at the COC request.
Oh, sorry. That's
right.
the current one, my bad.
Okay,
so we're gonna do a roll call. We have a second from Erica. So in the order it appears on the screen here, Erica,
Aye.
Kristen.
I,
All right. So that'll be continued to the next meeting, which
28th,
is next Tuesday, the 28th. And we will do our best to be in touch with a consultant as quickly as possible. We understand the urgent nature of the project, and this is an impacted area, but it's also a very big project, and there are significant impacts, and we just we need an outside opinion, or I do. So all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fletcher, we are here, by the way, Summit Ice.
Oh, Summit Ice. Okay. Yep. So I'm just pulling up the agenda here. I wasn't set up to run the meeting as Rachel was doing it before. So just give me 1 second.
Understood. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, so we have public hearing for a notice of intent, building addition and parking area construction at 15 Greenfield. I'm sorry. Let's go down the agenda a little more here. We have a public hearing.
I think we're going back up, right?
Yeah,
To Summit Ice.
we're at the top, I believe.
Oh,
RDA.
yep. Sorry, getting there.
139 Silvio O. Conti, right?
So we have a request for determination of applicability, building addition at 139 Silvio Conti Drive, map 5, lot 24H. And that's Summit Ice, and it sounds like the applicant is here.
Yes, sir. Adam Provost, Vice President, Summit Ice. I'm with the contractor who is Robert Provost, Maureen Schmidt, General Contractors. And we started to present last week, but as everyone knows, there was some technical difficulties which happened. So we did resubmit another map just to try to make things even more clear from what we started to submit last week. I know nothing was able to be legalized last week based on what we submitted, but this one I'm hoping that would make it even easier for everyone to understand. We're essentially putting up a addition in the back parking lot of our building, which is in a paved area. And I think that if you look through it, I know that kind of looks a little grainy right there, but I think you guys were probably able to get this earlier. Everything is kind of color coded just to make it really simple.
Got it.
As
Do
you
you
can
wanna-
see,
oh,
the
go
existing
ahead.
building is blue, the parking area is orange, and the proposed expansion is in yellow. And that falls within our current parking area and storage area for ice merchandisers.
Got it. Is this blurry
that
for anybody
maroon?
else?
Is that maroon, the 25-foot?
Yeah, so
The green
so
was
I-
the green was the 100-foot, right?
yeah, so I'm going to say this is Bob Provost, Maureen Schmidt, General Contractors here in Greenfield. And just I'll clear up some of those the lines that are showed. The 100-foot buffer zone is in green, which actually goes through the existing building, and it goes through part of the or most of all the new addition, and then cuts through the paved area and then proceeds back beyond the backside of the lot. The paved area that's existing is in orange. There is an area that that was mentioned that needed to be shown on there for the erosion control, which is in a pink and red marking line that goes around the paved area. And then just inside of that, which is pretty clear once you go onto the site, the edge of the paved area is the 25-foot no disturb zone. And that is shown in that red and black line that kind of goes through right on the back left corner of the paved area. So you can see that the addition is not in the 25-foot no disturb zone. It's already on the impacted area of that paved area. So you can see the setback.
Got it.
I forgot to unmute myself. This expansion is all above ground. There's no subsurface excavation.
Correct. So it has frost walls, but it's all, slab under. There's no basement area, nothing going under. There's no basement. Correct. And again, it's for ice storage of the existing facility. The existing facility has the ice machine and has storage inside. And that was how it was first designed. And due to increased business over the last couple of years, they need some additional ice storage, and that's the additional 5,000 square foot addition.
So then, just to be clear, no vegetation clearing, working 100% in pavement. No
Correct. Yes, that is 100% correct.
Wonderful.
The paved area that's all in orange, where that new addition is, that is all paved area. So there is no removal of vegetation. Correct. It's impacted. It's hard surface. I guess that's what we can tell you there.
So, and there's no tree removal, or you just said no vegetation removal, Kristen, right? That was
my question. Yeah,
Got
that
it.
and no subsurface excavation. So it's just on top of existing asphalt.
Correct.
Yep.
And the 25-foot is shown on the revised plans.
Hmm.
So that was one
Can't-
of my.
Can you build, do
Correct.
whatever
Can't,
your work?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, you'll be able to do whatever you're building, still staying out of the 25-foot. You're not gonna have machinery in there and stuff. whatever.
100% correct, yes.
All right. I mean, it looks pretty straightforward. There's nothing really happening outside the paved area as far as.
Correct.
Guess I'll just mention that those wetland boundaries they're pretty old. So I don't know if we
Mitch,
can
you
say
had
that.
you had the site visit. I'm looking at the photos now.
Mhm.
Did you notice any suggestion that the wetlands were, or I should say, how old were the wetland delineation in question here?
Do you know, Adam?
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually do not. We bought the building. The building was actually Tytex Tools. Eons ago, the retention pond was put in way back when in the 80s. So no, I don't have anything updated. I know that we talked to Mitch about it, and he didn't have anything updated as well. And we, as you know, we did a site visit, and Bob and Mitch walked the land out back. There was a thought that there might be a stream out there. There definitely is not a stream. So the short answer is no.
I thought that
And mind you,
site
there
plan
was,
sorry,
Bob
go ahead.
Provost again. And just to bring you up to one last, there was a 2010 edition put on the backside. You can kind of see in the blue, there's a little blue box. If you look at the drawing over on the right side, where the new edition's getting tucked up towards. So 2010, in that time period, is when probably that was all redone. And you can see where that buffer, the 100-foot buffer zone is kind of set right at that, at that corner. When they did that addition back in 2010. And you can see it goes through the existing building, but, I think that from my look and when I'm taking it from it, they set that building, based on, all right, there's the 100-foot buffer zone. We stay away from there. We don't have to clear anything. We know we're inside the 100-foot buffer zone, but we are on impacted area where the addition is going. And we do know that the corner of the asphalt that's existing, that paved area, is that 25-foot no disturb zone. And we're well away from that. I mean, and again, we're staying in the impacted area as well. So
yeah, it's already disturbed. So
it's already disturbed. And if there was anything more that I thought we should be looking for, I mean, when you look under the MAC order of the Massachusetts Association for the Conservation Commission, I mean, we pull this thing back to try to fall within the guidelines that they set forward under a small project inside that 100-foot buffer zone.
I will note that the RDA application did not check the box under determinations for whether they were asking for the commission to approve the wetland line. But I have a question about the edge of the asphalt within where it goes up to the 25-foot. It
Sure.
doesn't look like it's bound by any kind of semi-permanent marker, like a split rail fence or anything like that, or even concrete marker. It just sort of ends, and then there's like a sandy shoulder, and then the topography drops down. And so
Sure.
I'm just curious if, first of all, if there's currently any snow removal that is, or snow storage that's being kind of pushed off towards the wetland. And if so, can we not do that in the future? And two, do you have any plans to do any kind of boundary marker so there would not be any encroachment or vegetation clearing within the 25-foot? Like, is that 25-foot, it's there, but
Yeah,
if you sold the property after this addition goes in and,
Yeah.
they don't know it's there, and
sure.
you just mow it. I don't know, just something to think about. I know that this is not an NOI, it's an RDA, so we're kind of limited in what we can impose, but
Yeah, totally agree with that. And you know, there's an area where you kind of like drive around and you come up to that overhead door that's on the side that's existing around the back of the addition. You come up. It would be nice probably to have some sort of a, I mean, maybe you think about put a berm along there. But as you do snow removal, I would think you're actually going to improve the site as you're coming in to plow. You'll be coming in off of Silvio Conte. You'll come straight down through to the right of the existing building. You'll be windrowing your snow to the right. You'll be pushing more away from even the 100-foot buffer zone of the wetland. I would think you'd probably have a less impact of snow storage over on that side. And the thought of, you know, being able to keep that area clear, which happens on any building that's been built near some sort of a retention pond or near a buffer zone or near any kind of wetland area where people would push snow, this would probably deter more of the snow being pushed away from it. Just a thought by looking at the lay of the land. And I'm, you know,
Currently, the contractor who comes in does use that corner, which isn't necessarily a good situation, but this will actually change that significantly. That it won't even be an option.
can we, I mean, it's an RDA, so it's hard to implement conditions in perpetuity. Can we state anything like that? Or, I mean, what's the,
I've only ever seen special conditions attached to one, but not in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Erica, okay, yeah. I don't know if anybody seen differently, but
well, it's already permitted. I mean, the parking lot is there. It's the asphalt
Right.
is there. So it's not like we can go back in time, but that's just a concern for me is that, you know, moving forward, I would like
I'm
to
sorry.
see snow removal farther away from the wetland line and, you know,
Yeah, Robin, were you saying because of the new addition being where it is, the truck won't swing the snow around to that side anymore? I didn't.
I mean, I
totally
can't
get that.
guarantee anything.
Yeah.
I just don't see any worse of an impact than what's there. I can only see something that actually probably would be a better situation if I was was to plow that lot, you know. And it's, I'm Robert Bob. It's where.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know it's
I was
Robin's.
reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both under Robin's name.
Got it.
Yeah, if you actually look at the lot itself, it will no longer be an option. So I mean, 100%, you will not be able to put snow over there. The only thing you could do was come over to the other side of the building with a plow, back drag it, and pull it out. That's the only thing you can do, and everything else has got to go to the right if you're looking at the map.
Got it. I mean, yeah, you see our concern with the sort of the melt, the concentration of materials there, and then the wetland being right there. But
understood.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as it's not necessarily relevant to this particular question here, and I definitely ready for a motion unless there's other questions from commissioners. I just just for context, my understanding is that being acting as chair, I sort of put that out more rather than when I may normally make the motion myself. Not skirting around.
chairs are allowed to motion.
True.
All right, well, I'll make a motion
for.
Oh.
Okay, you jumping in there. I'll make a motion for a negative determination on 139 Silvio Conti Drive. And the particular, I believe it'd be box 2. Kristen, do you have that handy?
I don't. I was just going to ask you. I'm sorry.
I can tell you in
that
like
was my
5
concern.
seconds here.
Okay. I always forget that.
Oh, I just saw it here. Permitting guides. not it. I thought I had it right at my fingertips, but I don't. It's under permitting and it's under guidance. It is under, I thought it was under permitting and guidance templates. There's a really long motion here.
So it's,
All right, 1 second here.
all right, so that's wetland.
Okay, hold on. I think I finally found it here. Negative determination. To make, I think it's 2, motion to make a negative determination that the work described in the request is within an area subject to protection under the act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent. Does that sound right?
That sounds right. I'll second that.
Wait, that was,
That's 2 on this
It's two.
motion worksheet, but I guess looking at the RDA itself, we can see which actual box it is.
I'm on the Wetlands Protection Act Form 2.
Mhm.
And it's different, so I want to make sure we get this right. So
Yeah, me too.
in section B, under determination, 1 is the area described on the reference plan is an area subject to protection. Removing, filling, dredging, or altering requires filling of an NOI. 2A is the boundary delineations are confirmed as accurate. We didn't look at the boundaries. So 2B, the boundaries of resource areas are not confirmed by this determination, regardless of whether such boundaries are contained on the plans. 3 is what you first said, the work described on the reference plan and documents is within an area subject to protection under the act, and, oh, that will remove. 4 is you'll need an ANRAD. 5 is the area and or work described on the plans and documents is subject to review and approval by the town of the city of Greenfield. And 6 is it is relative to the bylaw, but not the Wetlands Protection Act. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, this is so lengthy. 7 is an NOI is filed, so it's not gonna be.
I don't know that we necessarily need the number in the motion, do we?
Oh,
Just
okay.
the motion itself is that the work described is within an area subject to protection under the act, but it will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, it does not require the filing a notice of intent. I think
Okay,
the spirit of the
okay,
determination is good enough.
good, okay,
I think it is, it's type 2.
okay,
Type
thank
2.
you.
Awesome. All right. So I will. Do I have a second on that motion?
I think Eric.
Second.
Awesome. All right. I'll do a quick vote. Starting with Erica,
Aye.
Kristen.
Aye.
All right, and so that's passed. Thank you for the application.
I think you forget to vote, Fletcher, when you,
Oh, even
when
though,
it's you.
and I'm an aye. I should have said that. Sorry.
All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging
Good
with
luck.
us through the technical difficulties last week.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for getting back in quick enough to talk about it again. Appreciate it.
All right, get back to the agenda here.
Yeah, should be the cell tower.
Yes. So let's see, it's notice of intent, cell tower installation. I believe that's on Newton Street. It doesn't say it here.
112, that's the folder it's under?
Yeah, it's a map R24, lot 11, DEP number 1680352. Do we have anyone representing the applicant here?
Yes, good evening. My name is Steve Herzog. I'm with VHB. We are the wetland consulting firm who prepared the NOI. And
Hi,
also
Steve.
with me on our team are George Chanis of Verity Wireless, the project applicant, attorney Michael Rosen of RIW, and Frank Kelly of AT&T, who will be the wireless carrier. And one more member of our team, Lou Hodgetts of Dubois and King, the civil engineer, is not available because he's visiting family in Arizona this week. So I'll do my best to present this project and then try to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Are you able to share on our screen here?
Sure. Let me start with. Okay, so this is the project locus. It's right near the Rotary. It's a parcel on Fairview Street West, just east of 91. The parcel is partly wooded, partly developed. Let's see, I've got another one with an industrial building on the north side. On the west side of the parcel is a bordering vegetated wetland and intermittent stream. On the east is the road and the tractor supply. The project will consist of the installation of a cell tower and associated equipment and a driveway from Fairview Street West. It will be a 50 by 50 foot fenced compound and a 10 to 12 foot by 170 foot gravel driveway. So the development will be all pervious surface with the exception of 2 concrete pads. 4x8 pad to support a backup generator and an 8x8 pad to support electrical equipment. So stormwater will be allowed to infiltrate on site. There'll be a stone stabilized swale alongside the driveway and an undisturbed vegetated filter strip on the west side in the event of any surface runoff from the compound, although I did say that it will be all pervious, all gravel surface. What else should you know? So the project will serve a public benefit by providing the telephone communication service. The construction sequence in general will be installing erosion and sediment controls, clearing and grading, pouring the pads, erecting the monopole tower in the center, a perimeter fence, installing underground utility lines, and grading the pervious gravel driveway and drainage swale. Disturbed areas will be loamed and seeded, and after the entire site is stable, erosion and sediment controls will be removed. So the work is proposed only in buffer zone and in the outer 75 feet, so no work within the Greenfield's 25 foot no disturb zone. I think that's a pretty good overview. Did I miss anything? Any questions? As I said, it's all buffer zone work and outside the 25 foot no disturb.
I want to thank you for putting in the call outs on the distance from the limit of work to the wetland line. That's really helpful to have those on plans, and you have them in 1, 2, 3, 4 different places. So thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it's helpful to be able to see and not have to scale off the drawing. You can see right there.
Yeah, same
And
goes for
putting
the
the-
trees to be removed here. Assume those are just the major ones, but that's helpful too.
Yeah.
Yes, those are the major ones. It's a fairly open canopy understory. I mean,
What are you proposing for erosion controls?
a perimeter controls comprised of compost filter tube.
What diameter?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not the engineer, so let's see if we have that over here. I don't see the diameter called out. I think the standard is, what is it, 10 inches, 12 inches?
It doesn't look very steep, right?
No, it's not. There's a embankment off the road. You can see these contours. It drops about 8 feet from the road, but then it's pretty level. And this will be built up to make a level pad, a level compound.
I always think the bigger the better when it comes to those Filtrex socks, especially since once they get wet, the wood chips kind of settle down. I don't know what the standard industry sizes are, but if you had a 12-inch, that would be preferable to me.
You know, just looking at the plan here, I see SF, which means
Oh,
silt
silt
fence, so
fence.
I may have misspoken.
I would have been okay with the compost filter tube if that's preferable to the applicant. I don't know. The other commissioners think. But
Yeah,
silt fence and wattle's fine too. I mean, it's just more expensive maybe.
and requires, you know, a little bit of digging, I guess, compared to the sock.
Yeah, I would be fine with the compost filter sock.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Kristen, what size did you recommend?
I was thinking the bigger the better, but actually now I'm just noticing that, can I annotate on here? Oh, I can't. But on the north side of the proposed drive, it looks like the silt fence line stops.
Yes, here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the grade's kind of going to the west over there, but I wouldn't mind seeing it extended a little higher personally.
Sure.
And
That's
same with on the
very easy.
south end of, well, actually, if you've got a filter tube, I mean, you may as well go a little bit further with it, but I can see why you didn't put it on the southwestern or southeastern corner because there's no resource area down there.
Right down here, it just ends
Yeah.
here at the base of the hill.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wish I could annotate because I'd point to that. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Or for any benefit of the public, if they're trying to interpret my confusing words. I wish I could annotate.
So do you mean here, extend it here, or
Yeah, I was
just up
thinking,
here?
I was thinking up where you are right now, because, you know, the topography does slant down gradient towards the wetland, which I'm assuming is at the toe of the slope, and you are excavating out and changing grade for that drive.
Yes, and that is still in the buffer zone. So yeah, absolutely. That's
Okay.
fairly
Yeah,
simple.
good catch on the extension there.
I'm less concerned about it in the southeastern corner of the development because there's no resource area down gradient, but I just wanted to point that out. If any other.
There's no excavation over there either, really.
Right, there'd be a
But
grading.
you're excavating that to put underground electric and telephone, it says.
Yes.
For in the northeast.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not, the grade isn't changing there. It's just you're burying the equipment and then maintaining the current grade more or less, or is it
Yes, it's
changing?
maintaining the current grade. You know, the contours are across the road. So they'll be changing a little bit, but not very much. And on this side, there'll be a stone stabilized swale over or adjacent to where the underground utilities will be. So there isn't significant grading besides leveling to make the road.
Got it.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up a DE. Go ahead, sorry, Erica.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I was going to bring up a DEP comment, but you go ahead.
I was just going to ask, once it's complete, what kind of maintenance do you have? Do you have to keep going in to take out anything that starts growing near it, or, you know, if trees start growing up near it?
Oh, I don't believe so. Maybe George, maybe you can answer that better, but I think because this area, the slope will be cleared around the fence, you know, we might keep vegetation low around the fence, but I don't believe there'd be any vegetation maintenance work needed.
There's no operation and maintenance plan.
George, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. Once the compound, the 50 by 50 compound is constructed, there won't be any tree growth inside that compound. Was that the question?
Yeah, so there's, I'm sure, a long-term operation and maintenance plan maybe that you have, so there'll be.
Generally, a site tech will visit, once a month, maybe even once every 2 months. So there'll be no traffic to the site.
And vegetation would be mown with a wheeled machine or hand cut?
Well, the access road will be a gravel access road. And inside the compound, there will be no growth of any vegetation.
because that'll also be gravel surface.
That'll also be gravel, correct?
But as far as the, I'm blanking on what to call it here, but the berm around the site there, that'll be, I assume, that's not gravel,
Oh, yeah.
correct? That's a dirt embankment. Yeah, and so like maintenance of that, for example, since woody vegetation will, I assume, start growing on it somewhat.
Yes, to be honest, tell you the truth, I'm not the engineer who designed this, so I don't have a note as to what that's slope will be comprised of.
I believe I read it.
Well, if it is vegetated, then it certainly would need to be mowed.
Yeah.
And at least annually, I would imagine.
I saw that in the narrative.
Is that something that the commission would want to condition? How that would
Yeah,
be
I think
treated?
I think if it required ongoing maintenance, we'd just be interested in hearing how that would happen and making sure that it's noted in the order conditions if one were to be issued, I think.
Okay.
This kind of relates to a comment from DEP that they asked basically if the applicant had investigated looking into relying on the natural drainage, the infiltration values of the soil that exists on site to essentially capture flow, sheet flow, rather than building a man-made structure to slow it down and to infiltrate.
Yes.
Based on the sense that based on the question of ongoing maintenance and whether that berm would essentially degrade in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is a good point. And I discussed that with Lou, the civil engineer. And my understanding is that he proposed a swale, a stone swale with check dams, because that's sort of standard practice. But we could omit the check dams and then it wouldn't require any maintenance because it is a hydrologic soil group A, which is very rapidly infiltrating.
Right. Right.
I'm confused by Mark's comment though, because he wrote that it's insufficient information.
I wonder if he was talking about the lack of information on ongoing maintenance and how they would sort of maintain the man-made, the earthen dam there?
It shows that it's insufficient information has been included in the stormwater report to show compliance with the stormwater standards.
Oh, I
One
take it
cannot
back.
model stormwater without confirming actual soil type. Per volume 3, chapter 1 of the stormwater handbook, a competent soils professional conducts a site visit to verify soil conditions on the site. Please see table 2.3.1. One cannot add 25% TSS removal to the 70% for the wet swale, as that pretreatment is part of the requirements for that 70%. Maybe
So,
you
yeah.
want to explain that?
Yeah, so there are 2 points there. And the first one, I did discuss this with the engineer as well. We did confirm that the soils are the same type that are mapped by the NRCS, which is Merrimack Fine Sandy Loam, which is HSG A.
What's the drainage class for Merrimack Fine Sandy Loam? Is it-
The drainage class is A.
Yeah, so it's very well drained, well drained.
Yes, sorry,
Okay,
very well drained.
thank you.
So that was, he had a couple of comments, Mark did, and I think what he was suggesting is that if it is drained, very well drained, then we don't need to have the check dams. We don't need to have something that requires maintenance. And I think that also obviates the question about the TSS removal, because it will just be a stone stabilized swale that will infiltrate in place. So we do, the BMPs were designed appropriately because we did verify the soil types during the wetland delineation. And after submitting the notice of intent, that's when Mark provided his comments, we wanted to see what your take was on those items before proposing something that may or may not meet with your interest, but we would be perfectly willing to remove those check dams and then remove the need for maintenance.
So the water goes, I'm assuming you're going to be angling the drive a little bit slightly to the north so that water runs into this swale and then settles in the forebay.
Yes.
And it's crushed, it's made of crushed stone, so it won't be prone to rilling and gullying as the water goes down the slope. And then after the water settles out the total suspended solids and anything else in the forebay, water goes into the ground.
Yes.
And so I think maybe, do we have any information on how often any built up material would be removed or vegetation would be removed if, say, this gets very sedimented and now you've got like 7 inches of fines growing over the rock, and then lots of vegetation comes in and eventually it becomes sort of impermeable because it's full of fines and there's vegetation growing on top of the fines. And maybe, is that what he was getting at? I don't know. Sometimes Mark's comments are hard to interpret, but that's what I was thinking. That's what I thought was. So can you address that? Or if there's a maintenance plan associated with this structure?
Not being the civil engineer, I did not develop a maintenance plan, but I imagine that if we were to remove, I imagine it might be possible to remove the forebay and the swale and have a crushed stone apron that does not collect water and so would not accumulate sediment. That's my understanding, that what Margaret was getting at, and that the engineer said that would probably be appropriate if we wanted to go that route. Just have, instead of the contoured C-shaped basin with an overflow, have it a crushed stone surface, just level.
Kristen, can you, sorry to interrupt, can you point out which document Mark's comments are in? I'm having trouble pulling them back up again.
Oh, sure. I can do a screen share.
or even if, yeah.
Actually, I have them up
Okay,
here.
great.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. It's.
Oh, I see. It's right there. Yeah. Okay.
So is he saying that this doesn't comply with the stormwater standards?
No, he's saying that
You don't need to.
we don't, right, there's two things. We didn't state that we confirmed the soil type, which we
Like
did.
Using test bits or.
Yes, well, we did it during the delineation with hand augers. We didn't need to do an infiltration test. And with HSGA soils, which are well drained, he's asking, of course, he doesn't want to tell us how to engineer the site, but asking if there's any actual need for BMPs. So again, not being the engineer, but having spoken with him, Lou, it's my understanding that yes, we could remove the structural BMPs and simply allow infiltration in place. So that would be a crushed stone surface around the crushed stone compound.
Can you provide us any discussion on the pros and cons of each? Because we've only seen one proposal, so I don't really know what the alternative would be better for, other than the fact that you wouldn't have to maintain it. But still, I mean, even if you got fines in the crushed stone, would you have to scrape those out and replace them ever? I don't know. I guess I don't know what the alternative is. So could you talk to us about the pros and cons and groundwater recharge? And
yeah, there would be groundwater recharge, and it would, instead of concentrating the flow and detaining it in this basin area, it would simply be precipitation that would land on the ground surface and infiltrate in place. If there's any flow down the road, down the swale, the access road, that would also be allowed to infiltrate in place. So I'm honestly not comfortable saying much more detail than that because I'm not the civil engineer. So I don't know, I couldn't put numbers onto this as to what storm event would produce what result. But it's my understanding from, as I said, from speaking very briefly with Lou after these comments were received, that we could remove the structural BMPs and just allow the water to infiltrate in place.
And you were talking about a crushed stone margin around the pad, right? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
And what would be the width of that crushed stone, essentially?
I would be guessing,
that would
but
be 50 by 50.
That's for
the pad itself.
That would be the size
here.
that would be the size of the compound.
Mm-hmm.
So this
the
dimension
crushed
for
stone
this,
adjacent to it.
right, that looks like it's on the order of 20 feet.
Right.
So I would imagine we could just replace that with a level 20-foot crushed stone apron.
I wonder if that would be necessary if we're sort of trying to rely on the soils. I guess I don't totally understand the function of that much, square footage of the crushed stone if we did want to rely on the soils, unless it just slows down sheet flow more. Or
it does slow down sheet flow, but we could alternatively just vegetate it, have it vegetated with as a meadow.
I mean
but again, I'm not the engineer, so I don't know what the numbers are.
Right.
But then again, we're not concentrating any flow because this is all going to be a crushed stone surface in the compound.
Mm-hmm.
So there shouldn't be any accumulation of water from the compound. It would just be what flows along the road.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're allowing what flows along the road to infiltrate in that swale, then that's a good point. You're right. We shouldn't need to put crushed stone here at all. It could just be vegetated with meadow vegetation, grass.
Mm-hmm. Which would, in theory, slow down sheet flow more and utilize the soils, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't get clogged with fines.
Right. I think that is the main, that's what I picked up most from the comments, is just like what maintenance would, in 2 years, yes, in 3 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, what's going to be maintained. as far as
Especially-
the infrastructure here.
Especially if it's implemented during construction. And there is no temporary settling basin if you need one, depending on the site conditions during construction. And then, you know, you fill it up with fines before you've even opened the gates.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as Mark points out, that a lot of owners don't keep that logbook to show compliance with the BMPs in place and
Mhm.
ongoing maintenance. They, you know, so I think that's a little pet bugger for Mark. And so that's why he was just pointing it out.
Yeah.
I guess, is that something that the applicant would be amenable to getting a little more sort of written detail on, potentially from the civil engineer? I mean, it makes more sense to me that way. I just, you know, a lot of what we're saying here is conjecture. It'd be great to have a little more technical data on it. Is that something you all could just compile a bit more information on and let us know and just double check some of the assumptions? I feel like that would be less expensive for the applicant overall as well. So it seems like it might be a win-win if it did work.
We could do that. Thank you. We'll do that.
Okay.
And then expand if you're going to do a plan revision, expand the erosion control line a little bit along the road. That would be my comment.
Okay.
Yes, we'll do that all the way up alongside the road.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
yeah, that's great. I hope it does calculate out and there's less construction needed here. That'd be great. And less maintenance, right?
Yeah.
There's one more thing I have to, that was omitted. The tower sits on a pad, a concrete pad. A geotech has to be done to determine the foundation design. The pad shouldn't be any more than 5 feet square.
So
But
you're
as
just
I said before, you know, we do a geotech after we receive all the approvals, and that determines the size of the foundation. Because the tower sits on a foundation and is bolted into that foundation.
And I'm sorry, did you say it was 5 by 5?
It never in my 30 years, it's never exceeded 5 by 5. It can be even smaller than that.
Okay.
Okay, so then I think I misread. So then that would be, were we talking about crushed stone around that, in that square area
yes.
there? Okay.
Yes.
And do we think that would be, still be crushed stone even in the case of no embankment, or would that also be vegetation relying on soils at that point? Maybe that's needed to sort of do maintenance, or?
Yeah, that's typically the compound is entirely surfaced with crushed stone to prevent maintenance, vegetation and the need for maintenance, and allow for personnel to walk around unobstructed. So this area that George was just mentioning would be right in here under the pole.
Right. Okay, that helps. Yeah, so I think sounds like we can continue this. Do we want to continue this to the next meeting, or that's only a week away? Or do we want to shoot for the meeting after that? Or Kristen, am I getting this wrong? Is that Erica? Is that typically, do we need to set a particular date, or is it continue to the next, then we continue it again?
It would help with our agenda creation. We have so much business right now, which is a little unusual for us. I think that actually makes sense personally.
To name a particular meeting.
Yeah, I think we have to in terms of legal ad and abutters.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Does the applicant have an idea of when what would be the preferred date? Mitch, do you have some of our upcoming meeting dates you could list off past
Yeah,
the?
so the 28th, March 14th,
Mhm.
March 28th.
Yeah, the engineer will be back by March 14th. So if that's convenient for the commission, we would appreciate it being continued to that date.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
All right.
I guess real quick, we could talk about their DP comment 6 to decide if it's a category 2 or 3 filing fee project.
Yeah.
Because I had the check, I haven't given it because I should probably figure that out first.
That's
Do
a
you
good
have the do you have the details of those two categories, Mitch?
Yeah, I
handy?
can pull those up. Category 2. And what was it submitted as? Does anyone know?
I believe it was category 2. Let me check.
I thought it was for project type 4, commercial industrial, but then it said at the end something different. Yeah, under activity type, it says J. Activity number 1. So maybe that's what he meant. J is the activity type, but the activity number, I don't know. I hate trying to interpret.
J is like
Yeah,
the,
maybe so.
it's like
It's
the
a
other.
catch-all.
So that's 2J. I guess we should have written. So there's one activity and we filed it as category 2J.
Yeah, I don't know if he felt like for some reason it should be 3.
No, I think
don't-
it says it says 1 on page on the wetland fee transmittal form, and then it says something different, I think, on the first form. On page 1 of 7, project type, it says 4. I don't know if I'm interpreting his comments correctly.
Maybe he was,
Usually, it's the wetland fee transmittal form that calculates the fee type, and that's usually where I first look. So maybe he was just saying that it's different in 2 different places. I don't know.
Yeah, on that page 1 of 7, that's not the fee category.
Okay.
maybe he was talking about 3C, construction of the road of a driveway, not associated with the house. Right.
I mean, there's an access roadway from this,
Right.
but that's it.
Well, on the fee transmittal form, it says that it's J activity number 1.
Is there a 1J? Can you scroll up to 1? No, there isn't. So it must be 2J.
I think that was meant to be 2J, and I'm
That's-
sorry I didn't complete the form myself. But I believe that was 2J, and the activity number is the number of activities, and there's only one activity on the site that's category 2J. I believe that was the intent.
Well, since you're continuing, you want to
reasonable.
just double check that and get that
Sure.
straightened out.
Good idea.
Trying to find my cheat sheet. I have a cheat sheet for filing. Never find anything. I need to.
Is there anything that connects the amounts to those descriptions that we could verify it that way?
Here it is. Oh, yeah, like from the check.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, that's how we submitted it, as total project fee of $500.
Yeah, so you filed it as
That's
a
two.
category 2. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if we could just verify that. Well, it sounds like it's under the right category, but just an incorrect notation on the form. Is that what other people are understanding, or is it still a question about which category it belongs under?
I think it makes sense that it's 2, which means the fee is accurate. And it's not in Riverfront. So. I think that makes sense.
I don't think it matters for the fee, but it is in Riverfront of midstream.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I don't think we require the fees for Mass Wetlands Protection Act Riverfront.
No,
Which
we
is
don't have
when-
a fee. I just
Okay, all right.
think it's
So
just
that-
worth mentioning.
Okay, so it's not 1.5 times the, okay, gotcha.
Okay, well, we can clarify that for the follow-up. Yeah,
Yes, will do.
Mitch, did we get at everything you wanted to check on there?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Do you still have anyone hanging in there from the public who want to make any comments? I feel like it's pretty late, so everyone went to bed, but we should ask.
Mitch, can you remind me of, while we're waiting on that, what the chosen date for the follow-up is? Was it the 14th of March?
Yeah, we said March 14th.
Okay.
Not trying to be cute at this late hour, but is there any way we could be first on the agenda? Is that a possibility on the 14th?
Mitch,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why not.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
all right, it sounds like there's no comments from the public. I'll make a motion to continue NOI hearing for 112 Newton Street, 168, DEP number 168-0352 to the March 14th meeting.
I will second that.
Okay, and then I'll take a quick roll call. Erica,
Aye.
aye. Kristen,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So it
Aye.
passes. Yeah, we got you. Okay, so thanks, and we'll see you guys back at the 14th.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right.
I think I'm gonna have to restart Zoom. It's kind of bugged out here.
Okay.
Oh, there, okay, so I came back.
Oh.
I
Back in
think.
it. All right.
I had like no picture.
Glad we're back in here. Let's see. This agenda is strangely configured. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but
Yeah, the website's easier to read, in my opinion. I know
right,
it's-
yeah,
It's just a double column.
regretting
'cause
not
it's so
just
much
going on
business.
there, but I think it'd be great if they were numbered too. But anyway, so public hearing, notice of intent, supermarket construction at 28 Mohawk Trail. DP 1680354 is the only other item I see on hearings. Is that correct?
Yeah, that the plan is to do that on the 28th.
All right. Okay.
So we're just going to continue that one.
Okay.
All right.
If,
And
do a
we don't
vote,
have to,
but yeah,
we do have to vote.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because we didn't get to it on the last, we didn't do anything on the last meeting. All right, make a motion to continue 208 Mohawk Trail, DEP file number 1680354 to the next meeting on the 28th.
I'll second that.
All right, take a roll call vote. Erica?
Aye.
All right, Kristen?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an
Yeah,
aye.
okay.
That passes. All right, we got it. A little delay, no problem. All right, so Mitch,
I think I am gonna have to restart Zoom.
okay, well, Mitch, do you have any other business or enforcement updates that are particularly urgent given the late hour, or is anything that can't be
Well, we
passed
do
to
have
the next?
the RCOC.
I'm sorry?
The RCOC for 15 Greenfield Street.
Right, but is there anyone here for that?
No, I think Steve left. I don't know if
Yeah.
we have enough info to do it without him.
Is that even permissible to do that without the applicant present?
I believe so. I think they're just there to answer questions.
Okay.
Did we
Well-
say we needed an as-built, or was what they submitted sufficient?
I had asked for an as-built. They didn't send one. I guess they have the plans for this new project, which I guess have what exists now, because
Right.
that's what they have. And as far as there's a letter from the engineer that he said that there was no engineer.
Yeah, I mean, they did say that it was surveyed for this one. So I assume they shot all the corners of the building, and again, it might just be a matter of discretion. It seems like this is common that people don't follow up with this particular item, but it's also pretty important to verify that the work took place as expected.
Do we-
Yep.
Have you looked at that, Mitch? Have you looked at whether the survey plan that they provided matches with the plans that were permitted?
As far as I can tell, we can look at them again.
If you want to pull them up real quick, let's
Sure.
take a look.
I still have photos from the site visit.
Did you say, Fletcher, that the last round of plans weren't engineered?
I didn't say that,
Oh,
but did Mitch say that? I'm not sure. He said, I heard something about an engineer not being
Yeah, he said that there
What was
wasn't an engineer.
for a giant prefab building
Yeah.
going into a site. They just winged it.
you just eyeballed those topographies, those elevations, and yikes.
Guys, sorry to interrupted. I have a text here from well, we'll go after. Let's continue with this. It's not gonna impact this. Mitch, you're bringing that up, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking for it. I
Okay.
got
All right,
it.
while you do
So-
that. Oh, darn it. Missed my bathroom window.
So I mean, I guess this is what he was referring to, and just checking if this is
Why
what
is that
exists
so
now.
blurry? Is it my eyes, or is that blurry?
He was showing
Oh,
us
is
a
that better?
different one, I think. Wasn't there?
That looks better.
Wait,
These are
that's the
these are the new
plan that
plans.
was,
That's
oh, that's the new plan. Okay. Oh, okay, I see. It's just loading. It's slow. Okay. And then the permitted plans are in the 2017 NOI.
Right, so this is what they submitted originally.
That was the
Um,
only. That was the only plan for the other building, right?
Yeah,
It's hard to see them side by side. Gotta open up two browsers.
Yeah.
The site plan.
yeah, I guess that's why a letter is helpful.
Well, I mean, we've been on site since then. And
Just walked around the building.
yeah. I'm just pulling these up side by side slowly.
Well, the buildings look the same, but what about the parking?
Almost there. Okay, so anybody find an existing plan without the new building in the new filing? Guess it doesn't matter that much.
On the site plan sheet. It's on every sheet.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's just mainly the HVAC unit on the western part seems to be in a different place.
Oh, yeah.
The whatever that transmission box is there is,
Or actually, maybe not.
they might have missed.
Those are new. Those are new.
But you think the ones on the new plans are new?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we need to have the applicant here to walk us through it. And, you know, if
Yeah.
we're not getting an as-built that shows.
Yep.
Okay, kiddo, I see you. Come on in.
Yeah, Mitch, can you put this on the agenda for before the new NOI for when this comes back up? Does that make sense?
Well, I think hearings have to go first, but I mean, we can always
Oh, I'm sorry.
just
yeah.
vote to do it later.
Right,
Just
because we don't,
put it
it's
down
not
further.
required that we close this before issuing. I mean, Rachel mentioned something about there can't be two DEP numbers for one site, but is that a hard and fast rule as far as, you know?
Seems hard to say. MACC just recommended it, but it seemed like
Right.
Mark sounded like it was required.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
going
like
on the
for one
MACC.
project.
I see. Yeah,
Like
right. For one
I worked on a
project makes more
UMass
sense.
project and there were
There must-
15 old
right.
orders that were, they were like, please close these out, but they were all different projects throughout the campus. So different parcels.
Yeah.
Some of them were even maybe the same parcel. So maybe if it's the
Right,
same
I think-
project, same parcel, I don't know.
I think that makes more sense. And like you said, I saw the MACC page as well, and it just recommended. And if it was mandatory, I imagine they would have more stronger language in there about that. So, I mean, yeah, I don't want to just go off these two documents without having anyone here to answer any questions.
I agree.
So, all right.
Yeah, I mean, we can wait. I mean, he's coming
Yeah.
back anyway.
Yep. All right, let's do that. So let's see, so we have to,
Motion to continue.
do we have to
that?
motion that?
So I think requests need to be approved within 21 days, right? Of
Right.
the request. So
That's right. What,
when did they submit that? Or maybe that's a
guessing
legal
it's-
thing and that's just always what I assumed, but I don't know.
I mean,
Mitch,
if we
do you-
go beyond 21 days, they can appeal to DEP.
mhm.
Will next Tuesday be within the 21-day period? Did I miss that?
No, I don't know when
It's probably
came in.
already past 21 days.
Right.
From when they submitted the request?
Right, because we had to extend it from last week.
Okay, well, there's no fee, so at least that's an easy refiling.
Mhm. And if-
Right.
I mean, I doubt they're going to want to appeal to DEP if just,
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be faster.
right. But you don't have a submission date, Mitch, on when, I mean, they failed to follow up on this in the first place.
It might have been around the 31st, so it might be around 21 days right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, they didn't stick around. So we'll address that next time. All righty. I'm sorry, Mitch, though, do we need to motion on that, or is that, because that's not a hearing?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So as far as other business and enforcement updates, do you want to, is there anything in the next two categories that we absolutely should talk about now?
We could go over this quick.
Yeah, whatever you have there.
Yeah, just the 105 Newton Street project had some slight edits to make.
Oh, that's how that was in the folder. I thought that was, I was
I'm
confused.
just trying to find it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pull them up. They kind of said, see if you can just do it in the minutes, and if you have questions for them, then they could come to another meeting, but they just wanted us to take a look.
Mhm.
Didn't seem like they're changing the scope or anything. Well, maybe.
Do you have any highlights to call out there?
Added an asphalt area. Added pavement stripping.
Is that in jurisdiction or?
Yeah, I mean, this is all the info that I have.
Looks like it is, well, I guess it doesn't say, but they'd make a comment that it's still decreasing from existing condition. So I assume it's in there.
They removed 14 shrubs and replaced with grasses? Or am I missing that? Yeah, they removed 14 shrubs and replaced with grasses.
To the
Yeah.
plan. Not that they did this yet.
That's what I was reading. Yeah.
And that's. You would think like maybe they didn't have that species at the nursery, so they would sub out a similar species, but no, they went with grasses, which is not the same as a shrub. Did they give us a reason for that? Or is the habitat more conducive to shrubs to grasses than shrubs or something? Did they talk about that at all, Mitch?
No, again, this is all I have. And they said if you wanted questions to be answered, then they could come to another meeting. But they just wanted our initial thoughts.
I'm just looking at the plan. I don't know if we're gonna have time tonight to give thoughts on all these things.
Yeah, but there's kind of a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
What are the
There's a lot.
before and after changes on the increase in impervious surface area? I'd like to know what the actual data are.
Some tables would be nice with
yeah.
totals.
Yep.
And there was no visual, I'm sorry, was there updated plan set or no?
Yeah, because they keep talking about remove this detail, remove that detail.
I think we need more than a couple minutes to really digest all that.
Right. And this, Mitch, the NOI you just pulled up isn't updated, right? Or the plans that you were just pulling up? In other words, the only new documentation is this narrative, is that right? Or?
I'm just trying to remember. Been out of it.
Okay.
But I feel like maybe we want to discuss this with them.
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like that plan is dated the 7th of February though, so maybe that is new. Maybe that was submitted with the comment.
Yeah, I think this is new.
105 Newton Street, 2022.
I think it would be good to have the applicant though present this and explain. Maybe some of them are negligible, you know, but like the stone mulching in the vegetated gardens, I didn't get that. And the veg swap, I don't really get that. And the additional impervious surface area,
Mhm.
I would like to actually see data, not just hear that, trust us, it's negligible. And I didn't even finish reading past that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a slow reader.
I think we decided.
Yeah, let's have them here for that,
Okay.
or at least have all our documents in order so we can see you know, the updated plans as well as the narrative description there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. What else we got?
Mhm.
There's something we probably should do. I think this will be quick, but it's just a property that might be sold by the city.
Okay. Could be good to take a look at. What I think you
Yeah,
have
let
it
me
here.
pull it up. Should be in the drive
Close mine out.
under right of first refusal.
Oh yeah. 2023.
Yeah, it is. I'll zoom in, but this parcel down here. Which I don't think it meets very many of our criteria we're looking for. I think it has wetlands, but the area that's being sold is not the wetlands.
Got it. Sorry, so it's
Actually, I
that.
think less than 5,000 square
Where-
feet. I think it's just like this area.
Oh, so it's not on the riverfront riparian corridor. Wait,
It's
oh.
Wait, but isn't that right?
Does it abut any other
Is-
open space?
well,
Yeah, I
it
was gonna say,
abuts
isn't
a,
that Abercrombie Field?
yeah, it is. It abuts a property that's used as open space.
Is it that
As
area
if it was
right
part of.
between, right be,
The area that's being sold is just like around the parking lot.
Oh, it wasn't the parcel that.
It's just a
Oh.
portion of it.
is it,
What?
it's not the wooded part?
No.
Why did they
it's
highlight
around the building.
Abercrombie Field on that sheet? I don't understand.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's part of that parcel.
how many
But
square feet, if
which
this
part?
is even, not even.
Less
acres?
than 5,000.
Okay, so it's pretty small.
Sliver
it's
of
that-
excess land goes for purchase.
It's that wooded area behind the field?
No, so it's just around the building here.
Why is she selling it? I mean, who's gonna buy it?
I
What
think
are
they
they gonna
want it
do with it?
for like expansions, renovating the parking lot.
So to be clear, 5,000
Mhm.
square feet is 0.11 acres.
So whoever owns the school is asking for it.
If it were a budding existing open space,
Well, the person buying it is
Sense.
I believe a person who owns other apartments in town. So. Oh wait, it says right here, future development project.
Oh, yeah, it says, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just can't get over the highlighted parcel is not like whoever made these maps.
yeah, it's misleading.
Because it's not
Yeah.
that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not that highlighted parcel there. It's the little one that where your cursor is, or is that not true?
I don't know if
That-
it.
The highlighted parcel is Abercrombie Field, if you go down to
Right.
the ortho, right? The pink parcel?
Yeah, it's misleading, I think.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's not just me, because then the piece below it shows just the small thing along the road there, which would be,
Parking? Is this just a parking lot?
so this should be for,
It said for expansion of his expansion, future expansion.
6A is the parcel, so 6 is there. Selling a portion of this parcel. I guess it's because it's a portion, they've highlighted the entire thing.
How can you do that though? Unless it's
Well, it's not
subdivided or
protected.
there's,
It's not protected open space, so they can carve off a piece to sell. And does it meet the
without
zoning requirements?
subdividing it or without,
Oh yeah, I mean, you can. Usually it comes down to like the zoning requirements as to whether
Right,
you can
that's what
carve a piece off a parcel to sell to a private landowner, I believe, but. Okay, well. What, Mitch, can you remind us of our role in these particular cases? It's just, we
Yeah,
basically
motion
just can give
to-
our input or, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Right. A positive or negative recommendation to sell
Recommendation.
if we
right,
feel like
okay.
we want this land. I don't see how we would use this. So
Mhm.
No, not the small sliver of
yeah,
frontage here.
So it's right, yeah, it's right fronting the road, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So. Yeah.
nice to have a bit more narrative than,
I don't, those pictures are showing putting up buildings, apartments, isn't it?
yeah, so they're taking
Yeah.
open space, that's existing open space, and they're converting about 0.12 acres to no longer open space. It sounds like that's what's going on.
Mhm.
So it also looks like, for what it's worth, that existing parking area is within open space. So maybe what they're doing is just converting this existing parking area from open space to acknowledging that it's not. I don't know. I don't know what that area looks like on the ground. Is that parking associated with 71 Montague City Road and 61 Montague City Road? Or is that associated with the ball field? Does anyone know?
I assume the ball field, not sure though.
I assume the ball field, and that's why they want it.
Well, then where would people park in the ball field in the future?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that might be an
Yeah,
issue.
there's
for-
a lot of
for
data
those-
missing
those
here.
owners.
Are they proposing to move parking to a different field and then sell the existing parking to somebody else to do something like, you know what I mean? There's a couple land use changes in there maybe that I'm confused about, but I don't know if it's valid to the
I think for
conservation
us, we just
commission.
determine if it would be valuable as conservation land, right?
But, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the section that has a bunch of buildings pre-existing already? Is that, am I looking at the wrong piece here? It's the piece in the middle, right? Bordering the street that is surrounded by that gravel or paved driveway, isn't it? It says 6A. And 6A is, Mitch, can you go to the overhead again? It's within the middle there, right? It's in the middle of, maybe go to the,
Yeah, I mean, it's this area.
right.
Yeah, 46A-0 is open space right now, and it is the ball field, and it includes this C-shaped parking area. And that's under existing conditions right now. That is open space. That is municipal open space. So what are they proposing to sell? Just a sliver, just the parking area?
Yeah,
So then where are the future people who come to Abercrombie Field going to park?
Looks like it might just be the inside of the. It's a sliver of the drive. It looks like, of the paved drive.
Oh, it's not the whole paved
It's not the whole
drive.
thing.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Maybe it's just that one little, is that big enough? The one little notch?
Um, This is a terrible information packet right here.
Yeah, we can't do anything quick,
It's
Mitch.
incredibly misleading. Well, I don't think we don't get to delay this or anything, right? I mean, it's just,
no, we should.
they're
we
looking for
should
input
respond.
and, well, we should definitely respond, but I mean,
Right.
we don't, we can't continue this and say, you guys are gonna have to wait.
Because we're tired.
Yeah, or just because we need more info. I don't think they care.
Right.
Sorry, the portion of 46A. Okay, I missed portion in the first review. A little tired, but that abuts his property for future development project, approximately 48. Okay, so it is just that little sliver. That's 4850. Okay, I guess that's clear down there. Don't understand why it's saying potential renovated spaces, which is not in the sliver. Well,
That's
either
for
way,
that's for the field. I
yeah.
think.
But what does that have to do with? Okay, let me read this again. Also included in the area.
Well, I think they were just trying to show like what Kristen was worried about, that where were the people gonna, where the people at the ball field gonna park?
So
I mean, they're just pointing out there's still parking that exists.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the part they're buying isn't parking anyway. It's like it's just.
Oh.
Oh yeah, it is. No, I'm sorry. I see it now.
I was
Right,
just gonna
but-
try to annotate, but it didn't give me time. It looks like they're inside port. All right, maybe.
It's just a shaded yellow area in question, as far as I can tell. So
Yeah.
they will be displacing parking, but it says see, there's no narrative to say what they're trying to tell us by saying potential renovated spaces, unless I
It's
missed
like
it.
they're proposing to sell like this little sliver of
Yep.
open space. And then
Yeah.
they're building more parking to make up for that in this other
Right.
existing owned open space. So like they're,
That's what
I
it
don't,
sounds like, yeah.
yeah, they're just selling this little sliver because there's a new proposal for redevelopment in there for expansion, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
I don't think we have a particularly strong interest in this one. I mean, it's be nice if they weren't encroaching on the field, but yeah, I don't, as far as Conservation Commission, this isn't number one conserved land. It's not under our jurisdiction, or it's not under our care. It's a tiny sliver. I don't know that this warrants as much time as we've already spent on it. So
Agreed.
we can just recommend that they move forward with the sale, I guess, right? Mitch, you can pretty that language out, I guess.
Was that a motion?
Oh, do we have to?
We have to make a
Need a
Motion on
motion
this?
on
Well, I'll make a motion just in case that we support the town's sale of 4,850 square feet of 6 lot, let's see. Parcel ID 46A-0 in Greenfield. We support that.
A second.
Second.
Sorry, I fell asleep for a second.
All right, we'll do a nay roll call. Does anybody object to that motion? No. Okay, it's unanimous. I also am a yay. So. All right. Was there anything else, Mitch?
No, I don't think so. Nothing too important.
Okay,
All right, well, a motion to
Uh,
adjourn.
I second that.
All right.
Wow. Thanks for hanging in, everybody.
Yeah, I thought we actually, considering the amount of business to get through, I thought we did pretty good. We moved pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll see each other again in a week. So,
All right. See you all soon.
all
We got
right.
another
Good
meeting
night.
tomorrow. Yay.
Oh, have fun. More
Good night,
practice.
guys.
See ya.
All right. Good night.